What we do here is go back.
Hello there, fellow humanoids, and other creatures that maybe don't look like humans. I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. There are almost certainly aliens in lizards in human suits out there. Although, let's be honest, right? If you're out there kicking back watching a bit of Twitch, maybe you don't need to have the human suit on. Maybe you could just chill, you know? I've got a dilemma. Should I go over to No Justice or stay here? Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because you'll have exactly the same content. So, you know, whatevs, I guess. Hello, Seamless Dragon. How are you? Thoughts on what I said first thing today? What the fuck did you say first thing today? I have no idea what you said today. But whatever it was, I'm sure it was awesome. Anyway, don't forget you can hit the follow button. You can subscribe. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can give subs to the community. You can, what do you call it? Give subs to the community. You can do bits messages. 200 bits or more gets you a text-to-speech. You can do super chats via the Streamlabs link below. $2 or more, they get you a text-to-speech. You can, what else can you do? Oh, you can help me out on Patreon monthly, if you're able and willing to do so. You can go over to the Discord. Check out the Discord. That's a thing that's available. Yeah. You can. What else can you do? YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram. I'm not on Instagram. Actually, I think Rory Cat still has his Instagram. I think so. I mean, I haven't put anything up there for like 4 or 5 years, I think, but it's a thing that exists, I think, technically. Thoughts on a chat-up line I was thinking of using on Tinder. Roses are red, the sun gives off heat. If your legs are tired, use my face as a seat. It's a lovely piece of poetry.
Who here knows about Graham Linehan? Graham Linehan is an Irish writer, comedy guy, turned right-wing weirdo. All right?
Yes.
Graham Linehan has decided to spend... Who here knows...
Graham Linehan. Graham Linehan. See, why are Americans? Why do they exist in the way that they do? Why do they insist on existing? That's what I need to know.
I'm sorry for existing, Kev. I apologize.
No, I was talking about Americans.
I mean, yeah, true.
They managed to make me more annoyed at Graham Linehan because they were pronouncing it Graham Linehan.
Yes, yeah, they are. But then again, does he really deserve to have his name pronounced correctly?
No, his name's Mohammed. Fuck it. Who cares? Just call him whatever. Call him Cunface McGee. Whatever.
It's true. I mean, he is indeed Cunface McGee.
Although nothing as funny as when Vosh unironically pronounced the city that is the capital of Scotland, Edinburgh.
Incredible. That's a real Vosh moment.
It is. Honestly, I don't usually cancel people, but he's stepped over a line there, hasn't he?
What was one time where they thought a country wasn't real?
Oh yeah, it was something like, was it Kosovo or Montenegro or something?
It was Kosovo. Yeah, it was Kosovo.
Yeah.
He didn't know what Kosovo was.
He's like, is that real? Is that a thing? And he had to Google it. And I'm like, oh, stop talking about Americans. You're shit at talking about America. Don't talk about things that aren't America because you know nothing.
Oh, did you see where Destiny thought that Israel was in Anatolia?
Yeah, he's a genius, that lad. Also, what was the other great Destiny one recently? Oh, I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with UN or NATO or something, and he asked some absurd question. It was something like, are Russia in NATO or something? It was some.
Well, that was Alex Stein. Alex Stein was one who thought that Russia was in
NATO.
that
was actually yeah. But he did a special one recently.
A similar thing.
Similar oopsie
or is Ukraine in NATO? Probably was the question.
Probably some dumb shit like that. Yeah. Amazing. Oh, no, actually, no, what was it? Yeah, he didn't know... Oh, that was it, sorry. Yeah, he was talking about Turkey and Israel in regards to the recent kerfuffle in the Gaza Strip.
Same country, apparently, according to Destiny.
Well, indeed. And he was asking who Erdogan was.
Oh, my God, yeah, he thought Erdogan was the president of Israel.
Yeah, that would be Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey. The country he was talking about and claiming to know a lot about. Also, interestingly, did you see him get shouted at constantly by Alex Jones?
I did.
It was very funny. I would play it, but he's a banned streamer, so I can't.
We can only discuss him in absentia.
True, but do go and look for the bits and pieces that are available out there on the social medias, because some of them are brilliant. Especially when Moonlord freaks out and just starts going, shut the fuck up, we're moving on to a different topic, because he's had enough. Imagine trying to putting yourself forward as the moderator of a debate involving Destiny, Alex Jones, Glenn Greenwald, and some other cunts.
Oh my God, Glenn Greenwald was there as well.
He was.
That's a real rogues gallery they've got going.
Oh no, it's the blunt rotation from the seventh circle of hell. But Glenn
Greenwald
was
the word Motley Crue gets thrown around, but that really is the motliest of crews.
The motliest and crewiest of Motley Crues, yes. But Glenn Greenwald was there via video link, which kept cutting out all the time, which was hilarious because he kept going. As if people could hear what he was saying, and they couldn't. And I thought, this is how I want to hear Glenn Greenwald. Makes a lot more sense when you're only hearing every third syllable. Perfect.
It's true. I mean, that's basically how much sense he makes nowadays. Only 30% of what he says. Indeed.
How have you been?
I've been really good, actually.
Awesome.
I I managed to play an entire Magic the Gathering tournament yesterday, and then come back and then do a stream as well, and then edit a segment. So it was very productive yesterday.
Oh no, I can't have. I'm doing really well. I played a Magic the Gathering tournament. No, those two things are mutually incompatible.
I interacted with real humans, Kev. You should be proud of me.
Well, I mean that's the problem. Real humans are the problem, as we're about to see, I think. Because I mean, of course, we talk about very serious topics when we get together. We talk about very serious things. Recently, you've had the stuff in Israel, and you've got war in Ukraine and fucking the Democratic Republic of Congo and Sudan. It's a nightmare. But sometimes you need to get down to the real tough stories, okay? The real travesties of human existence, like slightly less shiny wrapping paper on your chocolate.
True, you really do. So this is a lady who has some choice words to say about some new changes to the wrapping paper of Quality Street. Let's have a listen.
She is honestly amazing.
Incredible moment, this.
Yeah. Thought I would be reduced to this. I have just opened a tin of Quality Street for probably the 60th time in my life. And what I have found inside is this.
Can I just say, rookie numbers. You need to get those numbers up.
Yeah.
60. I mean, how old are you? I could probably say 60 and I'm half your age. It's ridiculous.
This travesty. This is a travesty. I will never, Quality Street, purchase this product ever
Purchase.
Again. And you can...
Purchase. What the fuck are you doing? She went to the Matt Berry School of Pronunciation, clearly.
Take that and put it where you like, because this is a travesty. Our whole family every year has enjoyed Quality Street in its shiny wrappers, especially the purple ones. Now, who wants to eat this piece of garbage?
Oh, it's literally the same fucking product.
It's identical. Like, nothing's changed in the recipe. They just are slightly more environmentally friendly. The irony is, I've seen loads of people commenting on this and saying, well, actually, it's just capitalism that hates you. Whilst capitalism does hate you, one of the very few good things that you can say about market economics is that you do need to appeal to the largest sector of the public. And the sector of the public that cares about huge amounts of unbiodegradable wrapper waste being thrown into landfill is far larger than the demographic that cares how shiny their pieces of wrapping paper are. So she definitely is in the minority of people who care so much about getting their kids to make stained glass windows out of old candy wrappers at school in January.
Yes.
Rather than they care about protecting the sanctity of the waters of the world.
Indeed. I mean, I personally think we should defy the Quality Street hierarchy, the wokerati.
They've gone
Nestle,
woke. They have gone woke.
and subvert their form and say, okay, you don't want this to go into the sea. What we should do is take the non-shiny wrappers and stuff it down the throats of fish.
True, exactly.
That'll teach them.
Oh yeah, make up for the shortfall.
Exactly. We need to create another garbage patch in the North Atlantic, aside from Britain, of course, made out of non-shiny wrappers, just to fuck with them.
Yeah.
I know I don't. So, Quality Street, 0 out of 10 for festive cheer. You can put your chocolates where the sun never shines.
The fuck slam at the end.
Thought I would
The
be
lid
reduced-
slam at the end.
It's
The lid slam
so
at the end
good.
is perfect. It's so perfect.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. She's amazing. It's just the absolute iconic first world problem, and the fact that it's so much of a problem that she's not just a little bit miffed about it.
Yeah.
She is going to boycott the product Quality Street indefinitely until they change the wrappers back. These are the same people who call us snowflakes.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Imagine she's literally. I've seen people less passionately talk about genocides. Do you know what I mean?
Speaking of talking less passionately about certain things, I've seen people talk less passionately about a certain company's use of slave labor in Africa and the ways in which they've tried to make sure that Africa gets forced into continually buying formula milk instead of
Would that be the
other kinds of child sustenance.
Would that be the same company that she's mad about the rappers with?
Yeah,
That-
it might indeed be the company that's mad about the rappers. But of course, what's woke to these people, of course, is being environmentally friendly in terms of the kind of waste that they create,
Yeah.
and not indeed whether or not that they are ethical in
Yeah.
the labor that they use in
Well-
sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, look at it this way: she's not an African baby. Why would she care?
True. That is basically what these middle class people are like. So I saw somebody in Twitter calling her a Surrey mum, which I think is just like the best, the most perfect description of somebody like this. And someone in my replies, when I shared this on Twitter, described her as what we would expect the median Lib Dem voter to be like. Somebody who votes every single local election, goes to every single residents' association meeting to ensure that no affordable housing developments ever get built in her area.
Well, when I first saw this, I thought to myself, J.K. Rowling really needs to get out more. She has lost the fucking plot. This one.
The India Willoughby specifically tweeted out that this woman gave her gender critical vibes.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt she's a TERF, 100%. Yeah.
But it gets even funnier. It gets even funnier because guess who else who's famous has been tweeting out about the Papers Quality Street rappers?
Adolf Hitler.
Close. It's Maya Forstater.
Oh, it was close. Okay, amazing.
literally.
Well, it's the thing.
As soon as India Willoughby, it's like, oh, this person gives me GC vibes, and immediately Maya Forstater tweets out about the Paper Quality Street rappers. I'm like, it's obvious from the start.
Well,
We just knew.
We knew.
Full charge.
We've known for a long time that the kind of turfy people you get around the place are essentially bored middle class women who've got nothing better to do with their lives than type on fucking Prosecco Stormfront about they saw a gender neutral bathroom or whatever, right?
So what was she eating?
And so
on
this is exactly in
2022
the wheelhouse of first world problem Karen bullshit that your average GC person would give a fuck about. So like the overall the kind of not pie chart, what's it called? The Venn diagram of this would be the GC circle is bigger, but the entirety of this circle is inside the GC circle. Do you know what I mean? Not all GCs would give a fuck about this, but all people who would give a fuck about this are definitely TERFs. 100%.
Yeah. 100%. I agree. Yeah, it's a pretty successful heuristic that you could use there.
True. Also, just for clarity's sake, the company who are evil scum, just want to put that out there. They are fucking
very
terrible.
evil, extremely evil. Like you just read the Wikipedia page under Nestle controversy, and you will find plenty of reasons to hate the absolute bejesus out of the people who make this stuff.
They are very bad, yes. So just in saying that, I don't want to just sort of put their PR nonsense out there without saying they are absolute garbage. Quality Street has been famous, blah, 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 introducing paper wrappers similar to those that appeared in their first selection in 1936. Interesting timing for that, just saying. Now you'll be able to pop up your new Quality Street wrappers into household recycling once you've enjoyed your delicious sweets. What's more, by moving from 2 layers to a single paper wrap, we'll remove 2 billion pieces of packaging material by 2023, and rest assured all your favourites inside remain unchanged. So literally you are complaining about nothing. They are doing a very minor piece of PR based good for the environment. Cool.
And also, of course, on top of that, her complaining about the Quality Street because it's gone local for whatever reason because of the change in rappers. This is also earned media. This is also the kind of free advertising that Nestle are getting from being controversial. Whether or not they're doing it genuinely because they want to help the environment, they're doing it to respond to market trends, or because they genuinely want people to get mad about the paper wrappers. So they talk about Quality Street on the internet, so the name Quality Street gets said a bunch of times. They're still getting loads of traction for their product within the public consciousness, which is of course going to increase their brand reach. So you're doing marketing for Nestle, for Quality Street, by getting mad about this stuff and posting it on the internet. But also worth pointing out in this paragraph, they actually say, well, actually, originally they used wax paper to hold the Quality Street. So the traditional wrapping is paper for Quality Street. So they're getting mad about it going back to what it originally was, rather than as if somehow there is this kind of national heritage for shiny Quality.
Well, exactly.
Street, which doesn't exist.
You'd think conservatoids would be happy about it. They're returning to Monka. They're going right back to their
Really?
origins. It started with paper, we're going back to paper. Let's go. Also, we've got very similar politics in Europe to 1936 as well, so, you know, it's...
True. But also
but
another
as-
thing is that we're talking about capitalism, talking about responding to market trends.
Hmm.
It's interesting that she complains about something that is in no way financial about what's happening here. It's just because the wrappers look a little bit wrong to her. It's a travesty, for even the purple ones, right? That they have changed the wrapping so it's not her iconic shiny wrappers. But at no point did she comment on the shrinkflation.
Yes.
At no point did she comment on the fact that the same amount of money, or probably even more money than what you used to spend on the Quality Street tins or the tubs now, because not even tins, they're made of plastic, as has been pointed out in chat. They're tiny in comparison to the absolute massive things that you used to be able to buy of Quality Street. They continually shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink, and it's mostly toffee pennies anyway, which suck.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Oh, hang
Yeah.
on. Oh, fucking hell. I literally pressed the wrong one. God damn it. Hang on a minute. I will find that fucking image. Also, I will get to your message in a second, Kieran. Apparently it changed in 2022. So the fact that she's even complaining about this, what was she eating last year? Presumably not Quality Street, and therefore actually nothing bad has happened. Her life wasn't ruined by that at all. Anyway, there you go. Used to be massive, and it's now, what, half the size?
I remember even like the second one down. I remember those sizes of tins.
Yeah. Although in Australia, it's now cardboard boxes. Oh,
I mean, good. Like, it's recyclable. Like, no one keeps the plastic tubs anymore. I'd rather have a paper tub than a plastic tub.
Well, why would
Although I think the tins are useful for like putting cakes in and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, the tins are probably more environmentally friendly than the plastic tubs. They're probably easier to recycle as well. Like,
Yeah.
melting down aluminium is much easier than I mean, I guess it's probably the same as melting down plastic, but even so, a paper tub serves exactly the same function, unless you're somebody who collects Quality Street tins and uses them to store all manner of your dismembered limbs of the people that you've killed. Like, why else would then you don't need to have anything other than a paper tub? Like, you don't get any utility out of non-paper.
True. But why would the people of Australia care about that? It's not like they're a country who is perpetually either on fire or underwater. And those are literally the two weather states you have in Australia, apparently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, the very last comment I'd like to make about this is that Quality Street, just on the face of the kind of chocolates you get, is easily the worst selection box. I know there's gonna be a controversial subject. Roses have gone down in my estimation, but I do prefer roses. But you know what really was the best? These are not in production anymore. They've not been for about a decade. But Bendix used to do these little mint things called Mingles in a big
Yeah, Mingles
tin
were
tub.
good. Yeah.
They were bitching. They were so good.
They
Why
really
did they
were.
get rid of them? They were absolutely bitching.
Well, presumably they
were
weren't
absolutely
selling very well, is what I would imagine. Again, capitalism is what it is, you know. If he was selling, I'm sure it would still be selling. Yeah, if he was selling, they'd still be selling it. But I don't know. The big purple one is pretty good. Like,
I mean, my favorite from Quality Street is always the strawberry one. It's the strawberry one,
you're
and
mental.
it's the
Oh, you're
I
wrong.
love the strawberry one.
You're fucking. Look, I could never put my finger on what was wrong with you, and now I know. It's just been there, bugging me in the back of my head. I knew there was something, and it's the strawberry fucking.
Please tell me that at least you like the green triangle.
The green triangle is nice, absolutely.
Okay, good. Well,
but
I love the green
the
triangle as
strawberry
well.
one is like, honestly, I don't think I've eaten a strawberry one. Purposefully, I will have a box and I will throw the strawberry ones away. I haven't eaten one in 20 years.
Well, clearly, we need to be having our Christmases together, Kev, because I will eat all of the strawberry ones, and you can have everything else.
That's fair. Absolutely. You can eat the shit I leave. Yes. You can have it. Anyway, have we done enough advertising for fucking Quality Street now? Can you send me some shit? Like, send me some free chocolate, you bitches. That's what I'm after.
True. We are giving you the earned media that you so crave. We are engaging with the national discourse to enhance your brand recognition.
True. Also, celebrations are the best. Yeah, no, you're quite right there.
Yeah,
Well.
celebrations are the best. Absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% correct.
Anyway.
I mean, outside of Mingles, of course. mingles.
But yeah, but that's, I mean, look, okay, that's like saying, oh yeah, but the T-Rex is my favourite animal. Doesn't exist anymore.
Well, no, true. And also, I'm partial to. I mean, I like mint flavored things in general. So I like the Bendix mint selection anyway. After Eight, big fan.
Had some After Eights at this Grimbo. Yeah, love it.
Absolutely. I have
And
big,
again,
big thing about After
the
Eights.
problem with After Eights is they're slightly too Moorish, and I always end up feeling sick because I have too
Yeah,
many. of them.
100%. Yeah, because even then, like having the mint fondant that's in the After Eights, having too much of that does just make you feel sick, regardless.
They are the Pringles of chocolate.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Anyway, send me some fucking After Eights as well. I want lots of chocolate, free chocolate at my door tomorrow. Okay.
Absolutely.
The only reason I even did this video.
This stream is not sponsored by After Eights, but if you're watching, it certainly could be.
Exactly.
GSK, I don't know, makes them. Yeah.
Well, I've said this before. Like, it would be difficult for me to do an advert for a company that I'd like never used. So I've said like I could probably advertise like Audible because I do use Audible, and I could definitely do After Eights because I do eat After Eights. So I wouldn't be lying. It's not like, oh, use these earbuds that I've clearly never fucking seen before in my life. Like, it's not that.
Raycon, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Try this fucking VPN. I didn't even know what a VPN was when someone said I should advertise one. Someone in chat had to tell me because I'm a fucking boomer. Anyway, talking of boomers, British politics is shit. Yeah,
It is shit.
Who do we want to take a look at first? Do we want to take a look?
Oh, I've done my last 2 streams have both been watching Keir Starmer. So shall we start with Rishi Sunak?
Oh wow, you are spoiling your audience.
I really am.
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff. What's this? So much parallel between you and your stream. What's this? Oh my god, Kaelin Conrad did the same joke as me. J.K. Rowling is mad again about that woman. Anyway, sorry. Well, that's fine. Great minds think alike. It's fine. No problem.
True.
Anyway, so Laura Koonsberg, Tory bitch. I don't even know how else to describe her, really. Not really a journalist, so I can't say that.
The stenographer in chief of the Conservative government.
Literally, I mean, that image of her, like, chummily laughing hysterically, I think it was a Boris Johnson thing, that famous picture, if you're in Britain, I suppose, will, I think, be forever imprinted in my mind as that image. When I think Laura Koonsberg, I think of that image and its depiction, perfect depiction of how the journalism class, the political journalism class and politicians are in the same bed.
It reminds me, actually, the thing that always reminds me of Laura Koonsberg is the image of her in the back of the taxi talking about the mail-in ballots that she shouldn't know about and is illegal for her to talk about.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, it was a big scandal. She talked about the postal votes looking bad for Labour before polls had closed.
Oh well, that doesn't seem North Korea at all. No, that seems very normal. I'm sure she got that one from fucking Putin or whoever. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, she's talking to Rishi Sunak. It'll be awful.
Happy 2024.
Get a drink, one sec.
Happy election year. And none other than the Prime Minister is here.
The year is here. A general election means fireworks. Probably, although don't bet on it, at the end of the year.
My working assumption is we'll have a general election in the second half of this year, and in the meantime, I've got lots that I want to get on with.
What do you mean your working assumption? You are the Prime Minister. You literally get to choose. You could do it, well, not tomorrow because you have to be 6 weeks in advance, but you could say, I want one in 6 weeks and just do it in 6 weeks now. That's ridiculous. The idea, well, it's my working assumption. It's not a fucking weather pattern. You choose. You could just tell us.
I guess his assumption there is based upon the idea that, well, I don't know whether something's going to happen that's going to make the polls look even worse by waiting. But, I mean, really and truly, I've said it before, if they wait until later in the year when it gets closer to the NHS crisis,
yeah,
it's going to be worse for them.
Yeah, basically, yeah, absolutely. They should go in summer. But I mean, they're essentially going to hold on as long as they can, basically.
True, because they're idiots. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they're going to get beaten, and not like people.
Because I mean, if they held it even earlier in the year, like in spring. They might even be able to hold it before we get into a recession. But
Yeah.
at the end of Q1, they'll be in a recession already, and then they'll have to hold out even longer to try and wait for the economy to recover, which almost certainly won't. So just fucking themselves over.
True, but you're kind of asking the turkeys to vote for Christmas, even though they're just postponing the Christmas, which is inevitable. But you're still asking them to like make that leap, and they're not going to do that.
True.
They're
Well,
on the
other thing as
gravy
well is
train
that-
now. Why would they vote to get off the gravy train quicker than they need?
Yeah, I
to?
guess the problem that they think, because there are so many conservatives convinced that the Rwanda issue is what might win them the election or stopping the boats or whatever, is that if they do it in when the weather is good, boat crossings will be
boats,
higher, and that'll
yeah.
be politically bad for them as well.
True, but with the drag of that, I mean, unless they hold it in the dead of winter, which they definitely shouldn't, and that would be ridiculous. But unless they do that, then the kind of drag of news would be people still remembering the boats coming over, and then they have like an October election where the boats might have calmed down a bit, but the mood music is still there's boats. So really, they should do it now.
There's just like no time that's good for them. I mean, I agree. I think they should do it. I mean, probably still NHS crisis. Maybe again, like early spring is probably the best time for them. But
Yeah. But either way, they're fucked. But the only problem is they're being replaced by this cunt who's literally no better, really. I mean, just fucking useless. His fans as well. We'll get onto it when we talk about him. But another dropped pledge during the week, and their defence of him was, oh, actually, no, he dropped that one back in September, so that one doesn't count.
I mean, it's still dropped then.
Yeah, like, oh,
Okay,
brilliant.
when it's dropped.
Actually, he went back on his word earlier than last week, so technically, checkmate.
But they're so used to reflexively defending him being a duplicitous piece of shit that they have all the arguments ready. And well, actually, have you seen Stats for Lefties? 5 stages of Starmer right hope. Where it's like, well, no, he's not going to go. He's not actually going to do the thing, or didn't mean to. Actually, he meant it, but not going to implement it. Or he'll implement it, but he only is doing it because he has to do it to win the election. Oh, actually, no, it's good policy now. I actually really like the policy.
Yeah.
Or the reverse with the removing the pledge. He's only pretending to remove the pledge.
Yeah.
Like, or he didn't say it. Well, actually, no, he's only said it, but he doesn't mean it. Or he actually mean it, but he won't actually go back.
Well,
on
this
it.
is definitely more than 5
because
steps now. This is definitely more than 5.
It's the same 5 steps in reverse for saying a good thing that he then won't do and saying a bad thing that he will do.
Yeah. Well, talking of thinking bad ideas are good or whatever, I didn't stream yesterday out of respect for the death of Ashley Babbitt, who I have a great deal of respect for, and her neck means the world to me, honestly. Anyway, so to do with the January 6th thing, I saw there was a fantastic stat, and it's an absolute belter. Of like they did polling in America as to who thought the 2020 election was stolen, and most Democrats said no, and most Republicans said yes. But then there was a fantastic kind of breakdown of the exact numbers, because they also asked if it was stolen, was that, or regardless of how you feel it went, was that the right thing to do? So of the people who said, the Democrats who said that it was stolen, it was something like 8% overall said it was stolen, and they thought that was a good idea. Which is a really like Chad position. Like, yeah, we stole the election, and that's fucking awesome, actually. Which, yeah, okay, I'm down with that. That's honest, you know.
Keir Starmer's practising working the crowd.
I think the country's ready for a general election. Turn its back on this decline and usher in the hope and change that a Labour government can bring.
Plenty to smile about. Labour still far ahead in the polls. The Conservatives have practical, not just political problems. A flat economy, NHS strikes and waiting lists, and splits inside the party on immigration. Even some of the country underwater. And yet another by-election that Labour fancies to win. So we have one big question this morning. What could Rishi Sunak do if he wants to make history for the right reason?
In terms of by-elections, did you hear that Mr. Peter Bones' girlfriend is going to be the Tory candidate in the seat that he's just been kicked out of? Hello.
Sorry, my microphone got muted accidentally, but that's too good. That is too good that that's happened. Of course, but we have someone very connected to the man who's resigned in disgrace.
Very much so. Although, ironically, she's probably one of the few people who he's had sexual encounters with where it was actually consensual. So, you know, she's in the best side of him. Anyway,
I guess. And the thing is, as well, is that there's also another by-election that's happening too, because Chris Skidmore has resigned, but noble reasons this time.
What are the noble reasons?
The noble reasons was because he was protesting the fact that the government wasn't doing enough on net zero by opening up new oil and gas fields.
Based. Although, I mean, he's still a Tory, so I don't really care. But
it's true.
Reasons, and win the Conservatives a 5th term.
So could Rishi Sunak...
Can I just say, it sounds so impressive, win a 5th term. The first term, they were against a government that was very, very unpopular, who'd done illegal war crimes and shit. Well, not that they're illegal war crimes.
And who crashed the economy.
Crashed the economy. It was an absolute fucking joke of a thing, and they scraped through and needed the Lib Dems to prop them up with left-wing votes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Then David Cameron won a narrow majority. Very narrow majority.
Basically, won a narrow majority off of the back of the fact that the Lib Dem vote had collapsed.
Yeah.
So they didn't really increase their vote percentage
And incumbency,
that much.
yeah. Then Theresa May nearly completely fucked it, and there was a hung parliament. Fun.
I mean, she almost lost an election to the unelectable.
Yeah, and then in 2019, you had Boris Johnson, who did get a fair majority, but with the backing of the media calling these opponents literally Hitler. So, you know...
And also electoral backing from the Brexit Party as well, only standing in Labour seats.
Yeah. So when they completely stack the deck in their favour, they can narrowly win sometimes. Brilliant. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Look at this absolute fucking melter. So it's just it's such a sign of how poor Britain is as a place.
Rashid Sunak, I live and breathe.
Is fucking wanker is Prime Minister.
really turn things round? We'll ask the man himself. He faces a Labour Party that wants to push, yes, education. Their shadow education secretary, Bridget Phillipson, is with us too.
Who?
Suspended. Blocked out my own post office till I pay it all back.
26,000. And as Westminster wakes up to the true scale of the post office scandal, we'll meet Lee Castleton, one of the sub-postmasters who lost everything.
Someone suggested that ITV need to do a dramatisation of Prince Andrew being a nonce, because apparently that's the only way the fucking police will get involved. Is if you get it on the telly, you know.
Is it a full volume?
Turn it up one.
Perfect.
Morning, and a very happy new year to you. Thank you for joining us at the start of what will be a huge 12 months when your votes will be courted.
Is that rain? Are they in a fucking tent? What? Hang on, listen to that.
And then counted. Happy New Year too to my team at the desk.
That's definitely like a rain thing, isn't it?
I'm not sure what's going on.
That's very odd.
Oh no, Fraser Nelson, he's the worst. Oh no.
But we've got John Coleshaw, so we get some funny impressions of Tony Blair. Way.
He assembled the trio who marked Rishi Sunak's homework when we spoke to him last. The impressionist John Coleshaw, government troubleshooter Louise Casey, and the editor of the Tory Bible, The Spectator magazine. A warm welcome to all of you.
And a place where you can praise the Wehrmacht, unironically. Cool.
Let's start looking at the front pages today. The Sunday Times says the government is looking at ways of clearing post office managers whose lives have been ruined by that big scandal. We'll ask Rishi Sunak what that...
Are they going to bring the ones that committed suicide back to life? No, the damage is done.
I mean, actually, except the channel points out they should on ITV should do a series about the Windrush scandal.
They should, although I mean, I don't know if that works for racism. I think if it's white people being affected, the police might care, but if it's still brown people, I don't give a fuck.
That means later. The Observer suggests we'll get a first sniff of the COVID inquiry findings with an interim report in the summer. Could be interesting with an election ahead. Rishi Sunak has told the Sunday Telegraph he wants to pay for tax cuts by bearing down on the welfare bill. How will he explain?
Wow, literally stealing from poor people to give to rich people. The thing the Tories have always done 1,000,000 times over.
This is incredibly ironic, given that the manifesto that they were elected on included the promise to increase benefits continually in line with inflation, right? The Boris Johnson manifesto was not like an anti-welfare manifesto, like the first one we had in years. Like, considering that there were plenty of New Labour manifestos that tried to sound anti-welfare, given the benefits Britain, a zeitgeist we lived in. And Sunak has no mandate for this shit.
Nope.
No mandate whatsoever.
Nope.
No one.
In that later. The Sunday Mirror says Prince Andrew will resist any attempt to get him to move out of his royal mansion. And
You could put him in jail. It's a thing we
True.
could do.
True, you could put him in jail. You can investigate him.
I'm more than happy for him to live at the public expense in a jail cell. That's fine. I will personally happily pay for that. That's fine.
True.
The Sun on Sunday focuses on the death of Derek Draper, influential
What's
New
interesting as
Labour
well,
figure. And
like to point out as well, is the interesting how they say, oh, we're going to cut the benefits budget. Not pensions, though. No, we're not going to cut the pension, because that is the vast majority of the welfare budget is being spent on pensions. And I don't think that they should cut pensions or welfare payments. They shouldn't do either of those things. But it's interesting that the choice they go with is people who already have basically nothing already.
Yeah. Well, because it's the only Tory policy they have is, oh, fuck poor people.
Ladies and gentlemen,
literally, that's it.
victory is
Kate
ours.
Garraway's husband, who grappled so
Also,
long
on top of
with the after.
not just those who are the welfare people who are unable to work because they're disabled. I don't know if you saw this, but somebody asked the Department of Work and Pensions representative Policy Exchange, on a panel hosted by Policy Exchange. Somebody asked this person, have you seen this report showing that welfare reforms have caused over 300 suicides of the disabled?
Had they seen it? Did they care?
They'd not seen it, but they were going to look into it. Apparently.
I'm sure they
But of course,
definitely are, yeah.
I'm sure that'll definitely happen, won't it?
Yeah.
Effects of COVID. There's been a huge and understandable outpouring of sympathy for that family after such a long struggle. Our main event today, though, welcome to you three, is of course speaking to the Prime Minister. It's his first big interview of January 2024. Things don't look good, Fraser, but what do you think he needs to do this morning?
Give some reasonable grounds for...
Yeah, the posh Scottish accent is the worst accent.
It's true. Like,
give me a proper fucking Glaswegian every day of the week. This cunt sounds like someone doing a Scottish accent while also sucking a dick. That's what it sounds like. It's ridiculous.
It makes my skin crawl. Fraser Nelson's accent.
Awful. And I mean, look, we shouldn't focus on that so much as the fact that he's also an awful human being.
Also like a genuinely like vermiculous individual.
Yeah, but he also sounds like a cunt, so that's funny, I guess.
True.
You know?
Hope that things are going to get better at the end of the year. Everything's been going the wrong way for him by and large, from NHS waiting lists to the tax burden. Will he be able to persuade us that taxes are going down when in fact they're going up? This is a big part of his verbal conundrum, so let's see if he manages to run that gauntlet with you, Laura.
Louise, what do you think we might
Honestly,
hear from...
he sounds like he's sort of trying to talk while straining a shit out. I was talking to all that. Is there something wrong with your lungs? What the fuck are you doing?
I mean, yeah, they're inside a fucking cunt. That's what's wrong with his lungs.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, the problem with his lungs is that they're operating fine.
It's true.
If they could just stop, that would be fucking awesome. Just saying.
Well, I think we'll hear that yet again a Conservative
like
Prime
he's
Minister
gargling
is
marbles.
going to crack down
He
on the
does,
benefits.
yeah.
It's like, 'twas ever thus, difficult times ahead. Let's go for the benefit system. I hope it isn't quite as straightforward as that and there's something more sophisticated in it. But my worry is it's like been here, done it.
What the fuck is with the audio on this? This is the fucking BBC. Look, what our audio is crisp. I mean, our audio game is on point. These dickheads, it sounds like someone's like ruffling the microphone. It was fucking raining indoors earlier. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Say it all over again.
And you think that will just be the repetition of something Conservatives have tried before?
Rinse and repeat, and that isn't going to get them anywhere. It's not going to get any politician anywhere in this
it's the
election
necklace.
year. People have to say something new.
Right, but don't put the thing right next to the necklace then. Put it
Yes,
on the
it's
lapel.
very stupid.
It's
Yeah.
God, this is so. It's almost unwatchable.
Stop it.
Different that we can actually believe in.
John, do you have any sympathy, though, for Rishi Sunak? I mean, he inherited a very bad situation. He's been behind in the polls for a long, long time. But much of what he has to deal with was maybe not a...
He inherited a bad situation. Well, no one made him become Prime Minister. He had to try.
No, who did he inherit a bad situation from? Was it, in fact, George Osborne and Philip Hammond, the people who you guys did your level best to ensure had the monopoly on the political zeitgeist? Yeah, well done holding any of these people accountable.
Also, considering how bad the economy is, who was the Chancellor for ages? What was his
Yeah,
name?
literally, who was the fucking Chancellor of the Exchequer?
Oh, it was that guy on the BBC. They literally had a graphic of him as fucking Superman.
Superman. They did have a back graphic on him as Superman. I mean, it's exactly the same as Gordon Brown as Prime Minister going, well, we're going to really sort out the economy. And I'm like, you're going to blame the previous Chancellor.
Yeah. Fucking Norman Lamont, the prick. Or whoever it was before. I can't even remember. It was that long ago, I don't even remember. Thank you, Vermilly, for resubscribing with Prime 7 months. Much love to you. Don't forget, we are both but your poor, humble servants, and you can give on to us in the form of bits, messages, etc., and subscriptions. You can give our money on YouTube as well. So
That's true. It's 99p for your membership on YouTube, which you can gift to other members as well to make the green names roll. They get access to static emotes there, or the static and animated emotes over on Twitch with either your regular sub or your Prime sub by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account to throw Jeff Bezos' money at us. And also super chats and bits messages are available, text to speech, and I will text to speech your YouTube super chats because I read them all out.
Nice. See, that's slick.
I've done it so many times now. I try and do it once an hour so it doesn't clog up the stream.
I forget, so I mean, it's just awful, yeah. Gordon Brown, 2000. Kieran, thank you. But I was on about the person who was Chancellor before. You've given me every Chancellor back to Gordon Brown. I was trying to think of the person before him. So you've given me every Chancellor that I already knew, but not the one I wanted. Thank you. It's fine.
It's creation.
Indeed, Rishi seems to be a spreadsheet sort of fellow. He sorts problems out with the view of a quadratic equation almost, in that sort of manner. There's hardly a long-term record to be reassured by here, so it seems the only way to perhaps win is by lots of short-term sweeteners, done in a short-termist way. That can maybe
Well, this is excellent political analysis from somebody who definitely knows what he's talking about.
Yes, no, very worthwhile. Can you just do look, they've booked you, so just do your stupid voices and we'll talk to someone else. Come on.
Thank you for the 5 gifted, James. Much appreciated.
Pull out your fucking Tony Blair and do a George W. Bush and then you didn't fuck off.
I mean, it's like, at least if you're gonna get somebody who's doing, at least just get the guy from the very first episode back.
The guy from the very
Whatever
first
his name
episode?
was.
Joe Lycett.
Yeah, Joe Lycett. Yeah, just have him as a permanent fixture.
Yeah, the second funniest man in Birmingham, of course. Just saying.
So it might be a very entertaining year.
It might be a very entertaining year. It might also be a very long year. Fraser, just lastly to you before we begin our interview, Rishi Sunak said this week that the election is going to be in the second half of the year, but he didn't rule it out in the spring. But for viewers watching this morning, should they be actually pretty confident or disappointed or happy that actually the election is going to be probably in November?
Well, it depends how much you like Tory government, I suppose. But the odds are he'll have a conference in October, election in November. But let's face it, he's got the power to call one in May if he still wants one. And he hasn't ruled that out either.
So don't pay too much attention to him saying it'll be in the back half of the year, because it still could come earlier.
It's not a
that.
promise. It's, what did you call it, a working assumption?
A working assumption.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, the thing that would have made me convinced it was going to be in the first half of the year is if he had promised it would be in the second half of the year. That's the only way you can guarantee it. Like when fucking Theresa May said, there's definitely not going to be a snap election. 100%.
And then it's literally the Always Sunny in Philadelphia title screen. There won't be a snap election. Theresa May calls a snap election.
Yes.
And even though he's the one with the power to make the decision. Okay, well, all three of you, I know you'll be listening very carefully along with our audience. So, pencil in the autumn, as Fraser told us, but don't be totally surprised if it pops up in the spring. But
Thank you for doing the research. It was Ken Clark. Norman Lamont was the one before then. I apologise. There you go. See, I get my fat white guys mixed up. That's the problem.
either way, the parties this year will spend every waking hour trying to entice you to give them your vote. Because 2024 will see that.
I mean, if Labour are trying to entice people's votes, then they're going a bad way of showing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I was about to say, Keir Starmer doesn't seem to have spent 1 second in his entire leadership trying to get my vote. In fact, he spent more time saying "fuck off, we don't want you in the party" than he has trying to get my vote. Actually.
No, like what he's trying to do is make sure people don't vote for the Conservatives by making sure everybody knows that he is not the Tories. His name isn't Rishi Sunak. His party isn't the Conservative Party, at least in name. In rhetoric and in policy, the same, but in name it's different. The colour ties will be different. The colour rosettes, they'll be different. And if that's not what really matters.
Yeah, literally, that's the only thing that matters.
That magical moment when the public is truly in charge at a general election, with the chance to reward the resident of number 10 or kick them out if they had enough. It will be the 5th general election since 2010, and in all of the others, the Tories came out on top.
Her Majesty the Queen has asked me to form a new government.
Fuck up.
Yeah, all of it.
I love how it's Frozen on Ed Miliband, and I actually quite like Ed Miliband. I think he's a nice guy.
True, but there's also a ginger, so maybe he's the cunt. I'm allowed to say that. I'm a ginge. Shop.
True. You have that right.
I will now form a majority Conservative government.
Hitler!
Not another one? What? Nothing has changed.
The Conservatives are the largest party.
Strange. Well, they love how they do the one clip that sounds good out of Theresa May's election.
Yeah.
They don't mention anything else that happened in 2017, right? It just gets pigeonholed into memory. Let's just bypass that bit, the whole losing the majority thing.
True.
Just ignore that.
True. But I know
40% of the country didn't vote for an anti-Semite.
Yeah. The internet has destroyed my brain. Because even though the thing that was on the boxes that you saw very briefly was the phrase gridlock,
yeah,
I saw the word girl dick.
Girl dick. Yep. Literally, we all did.
Yep. Look, I'm just putting it out there. Literally.
We did it. We pulled it off, didn't we?
Well, he's here, Rishi Sunak. Welcome to the studio. It's great.
This is the shittest show in the world. The audio is terrible. The camera work is rubbish. She was like looking off camera when it went back to. Did they not have like a countdown? 5, 4, 3, 2. No, nothing. Like it's just every part of this is shoddy. You're the fucking BBC. There's no excuse for this. You get a lot of money to make these shows. Come on.
To have you here at the beginning of a very important year. There's so much to talk about. We want to start talking about immigration. We know it's one of your top priorities. We also know from documents the BBC saw this week that when you were Chancellor, you expressed doubts about Number 10's desire to send migrants to Rwanda. Do you admit that you had reservations?
No, obviously I haven't seen these documents, so I can't comment on them specifically, but I discussed it with the Prime Minister and ultimately funded the plans and the scheme, and my job now as Prime Minister is to get it up and running, and I believe that it's really important because it's about deterrence. The National Crime Agency...
Right, but regardless of all of that, the current Home Secretary who's trying to sell it, did he call it bullshit? Or something like that?
But when Cleverly did say that it was bollocks or bullshit.
No,
he definitely described it.
Batshit was the phrase, yeah.
That's the word he used, yeah. Because it is batshit. And James Cleverly was correct to describe it in that way. And if there's the one position that internally Rishi Sunak does hold that I agree with, that the Rwanda scheme is not just... I mean, he thinks that it's useless and won't work. Now, that is true. I mean, it's also morally repugnant, but it's also something that won't work either. You know?
Well, exactly.
And he was right to think that, but he's just locked in this position where he has to do basically whatever the absolute fringe nut jobs in his party want because they're the ones who have all of the power.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Well, the thing is, when you say work, it depends what you mean by that. Do you mean it's stopping in any kind of way the number of people coming into the country? Then obviously it won't. If you mean it might get them some votes from racist pricks, it might work. So
the thing is, it won't even do that. It won't even do that because all of those people, they're all voting for Reform UK anyway. Because what they actually really care about, these pricks, is legal migration. They care about the fact that visas for students, for example, have gone massively up. And any change between now and an election in 2024, like these people have gone already. These people they're already voting for Richard Tyson, Nigel Farage,
and they absolutely should. By the way, not that they should vote for Nigel Farage, but I mean, like, if you believe that sort of thing, the Tory party is not for you, because they've massively expanded immigration. Now, not all of that is entirely down to their business. You can't decide who is and isn't going to try and come here and all the rest of it. But they fucked the system up so badly, and fucked the system up post-Brexit so badly, that do you remember the mass migration under Tony Blair? This is many times larger than that in the last few years.
It is indeed, yeah. It is
literally
indeed. Yeah,
orders of magnitude larger, the number of people coming in now. To the point where it actually is sort of a problem, because they're not investing in infrastructure at all, and yet you're adding lots and lots more people to the system. That's going to be a problem. You're going to break things, and that will lead to a lot of social friction, which tends to aid the far right. You know.
Yeah, it has created that social friction, and indeed has aided the far right, and the far right now have a party for these people to support. And because the Conservatives have not just failed in terms of the policy goals they set out, there's a democratic deficit of not even trying to solve the thing they were literally elected to do. And of course, when people don't actually follow through with the policies that they say they will, it creates this distrust between politicians and the people that they're supposed to represent, which will only lead to more radicalism.
Yep. Which is when we're seeing this in places like France and Germany as well, where far right parties and indeed far left parties are making resurgent goals. The traditional conservative parties and traditional, socialist or social democrat, whatever, parties are dying out because they've not delivered the things that they were claiming they were going to deliver. And again, like you say, not even trying to. They're just delivering the same neoliberal shit that everyone knows is fucking awful and is bad for the majority of people.
Everyone hates it. Everyone hates it, and it's just like been the political zeitgeist forever.
Well, because the people with money like it, and that's literally all that matters.
Well, that's true. That's true. And again, the far right have certain very specific donors that they will try and placate, not the business community at large, because they will support just general kind of neoliberal governance, but very specific, very wealthy, well-connected individuals will bankroll the far right. I mean, it happened in Germany in the 1930s. Very specific people were happy to fund the resurgence of the far right. That happens in America under people like Peter Thiel and Steve Bannon and all that lot. And it's happening over here as well through the think tanks.
Yep.
Has said that you need to have a deterrent to solve this problem. I believe that, which is why I got a new deal with Albania shortly after becoming PM, which means we can return thousands of people to Albania. And we've seen the numbers arriving from Albania drop by over 90%. That shows that deterrence works, and that's what the Rwanda scheme...
Bang on, is that in the same way that all of the boats have stopped? Because literally it's like a fucking tempest. You can't go across there on a fucking ferry, let alone on a little dinghy.
I mean, it is not wrong for him to say that the number of Albanians crossing the channel has massively dropped off, because it is true that that's happened, and it probably is down to the returns agreement, but that's because Albania is mostly regarded as a safe country. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with stating those things, but the vast majority of people, even before we had a returns agreement with Albania, there was a couple of months where it was a high level, but mostly the people coming were all coming from countries that are definitely not safe countries.
Well,
the biggest countries people come from are Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, none of which are safe countries.
Well, yeah, and the British government shot themselves in their own penises by trying to claim that Libya, you remember Libya, the place that we bombed into having slave markets? Yeah, they tried to claim that place was a safe country to return people to, which means they shouldn't be listened to on anything. They're lying cunts. They're genuinely evil, lying bastards.
So it is the most ridiculous particular country that you could even claim that as. My favourite Libya fact is that the person who did the Manchester bombing was somebody that we trained to be a conscript to go to fight in Libya, who got radicalized when they were out there, who then came back into the Manchester bombing.
Is he the
brilliant work, MI5?
Is he our equivalent of the brave fighters of the Mujahideen?
Yeah, literally, that our equivalent.
Brave fighters at Mujahideen. Aye, brilliant. Thanks, guys. You are spectacular wankers.
Scheme is about. It's about providing that deterrent, and that's why it's important we get it through Parliament.
Well,
up
the
and
interesting thing is that the documents that I've seen, that were number 10 documents from 2022, describe your view as believing that the deterrent would not work. Do you deny that?
Again, I haven't seen these documents, Laura, so I can't comment on them. But what I can tell
But you were the Prime Minister. No, actually, no, you wouldn't have been Prime Minister at that point, would I?
Up until June, he would have been Chancellor.
Yeah. Okay. So no, he wouldn't. Well, but he'd have been in number 11 then. So next door.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you could just say, "Was this your opinion?" Then, and then when there was, but then the problem with that is he'd say, "No, that wasn't my opinion," and then we'll eventually see those documents because they'll leak, obviously.
Yeah. This Rwanda stuff has been going on so long. We all forget actually the person who instituted the Rwanda plan was literally Priti Patel.
Yeah,
that was the person who originally went to Kigali to sign the documents for the trade and cooperation partnership.
She was 5 Home Secretaries ago.
She was 5 Home Secretaries ago.
Fuck me, that is ridiculous. They do need to fuck off. I mean, they're going to be replaced with a shower of shit, but they do actually need to just fuck off into the sun, frankly.
That you had doubts about the deterrent effect
the proof
of sending people to Africa.
The proof is in my actions. I obviously believe that deterrence works because when I became Prime Minister, I prioritised getting a scheme up and running with Albania, which is now working. We've returned over 5,000 people to Albania as a result of that new deal. We've seen the numbers coming from Albania drop by over 90%. That shows you that deterrence works, and I know that deterrence works. That's why I prioritise getting that up and running. And, by the way, the National Crime Agency also believe that deterrence works.
But it's important to be crystal clear with our audience here. We're asking you about this controversial scheme to send migrants.
And now there's just a generic humming. It's unlistenable. It's going to drive me fucking insane. Oh. Okay, good. We can do this. Come on.
Arriving on UK shores to Rwanda. We're not asking you about what happened with the returns deal with Albania. Do you deny completely that you ever had any doubts about the efficacy or the value for money of sending migrants to Rwanda?
Right, so let's separate these things. I absolutely believe in the value and importance of having deterrence. And Albania and Rwanda are linked because they're both...
What's with this anti-Albania stuff? Is it just...
It's literally the only thing that the Conservative government have done that anybody could describe as working. So he cannot... I mean, Tony Blair was the absolute goat at doing this.
Yeah.
They cannot ever answer the question in earnest because they know that it will make you look bad to admit that you either failed or that you lied or that you were in any way at odds with the party at large in terms of how your opinions go. So you have to continue deflecting and answering the question that you want to answer, which is, well, the good thing we've done on migration is that we had a returns agreement with Albania because that's the only success. The literal only success that they can claim is the Albania returns agreement.
No, it's just anti-Hosierism. That's what it is.
True.
It's outrageous.
Returns agreements that allow you to create deterrence. Now, in terms of the scheme...
Also, let's point
I was
out...
Chancellor at the time.
Oh. Well, yeah.
Also worth pointing out as well that Laura Kuenssberg, this is the first time I've ever, apart from with David Lammy, I think, the only time I've ever seen her ask a question and then go and say, explicitly say, you didn't answer my question. Here it is in very explicit terms, please give me an explicit answer.
Yeah, doing a proper follow-up like a journalist would.
Journalism in the UK? Surely not.
Crazy. You're going to get fired for doing an anti-Semitism.
Absolutely.
My job is to make sure that we get value for money for taxpayers to ask questions with it.
How many billions did you piss up the wall on PPE that didn't work? Value for money. We didn't get anything for the money. What are you talking about? We got zero value.
Yeah, but Michelle Mone was really sad.
She
was
was
not crying for her to lie to the press.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a crime for her and her husband to surreptitiously claim, that they weren't involved in anything and then receive tens of millions of pounds. No, that's fine.
And then provide PPE that we had to pay to get rid of.
Literally cost us more money than if they produced nothing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Whenever anybody wants to spend taxpayers' money, I would expect the same thing of the Chancellor now. So, of course, I would rigorously scrutinise any proposal that crossed my desk. But ultimately, I agreed with the Prime Minister and we funded the proposal. So the proof is in my actions.
You admit, then, that you had hesitation?
No, as Chancellor, you have to basically do it because the Prime Minister says you have to fucking do it. Like, you funding something doesn't mean you support it. You also fund the benefit system, and you clearly want to kill all disabled people. So, like, you clearly don't support all public spending, obviously.
No.
About whether or not the scheme was value for money. You've told people when you moved into number 10 you wanted the highest standards of accountability and integrity. So what we're asking about is being accountable for how you came to that decision. Did you then have hesitations about whether it would be value for money?
I think you're really, expanding this beyond what it is. As Chancellor, my job is to scrutinise.
No, she's asking you a very explicit question with a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
And she keeps asking it, Rishi, because you've not fucking answered the bloody question.
She's going a bit Paxman, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm super here for it. Like,
Yeah.
Did you threaten to overrule him? Did you threaten to overrule him?
Yeah, not did you overrule him, did you threaten to overrule him?
Threaten to overrule him. I did not instruct him.
Yeah. Michael Howard Walker. As if he was nearly Prime Minister as well. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Brilliant
you say
shit.
nearly.
Okay, he was second place, you know?
Yeah, there was a potential that he could become Prime Minister.
I mean, he lost very badly, but, it's like the guy who's the next in line on the Titanic. Like, it's not really his fault that the ship's sinking at that point, Like, technically, he was captain for like 10 seconds, so good for him.
And ask tough questions of every single proposal that crosses my desk. That's my job. Well, as when I was Chancellor, it's the Chancellor's job now, because ultimately this is all taxpayers' money. And just because someone's asking tough questions doesn't mean that they don't believe in the proposal. And what
that's
they should
not
do,
what
though,
the
is make sure
documents
that it
say.
is gone through a process.
Yeah.
The documents said that you believe that it would not work as the deterrent that you say is important, right? Yeah. Again, we're not asking about the efficacy of having a deterrent at all. I disagree with the idea of having one. I don't think we need one. I don't think we should have one. I think we should have an efficient processing system. But whatever, that is an opinion that I have, but it's not pertinent to this discussion. The very specific question is whether or not you thought the Rwanda plan in specific that was drafted by Priti Patel is one that A, would be an active deterrent, or B, would be worth the money, right?
Yeah.
And you may be answering kind of the second part of that, but you're explicitly not answering the very first and most important part, which is, did you think that it wouldn't even work as the deterrent that you say is important? Which is, you're not answering.
True. So Michelle Mone, a cheeky little juxtaposition from Private Eye. So this was her talking in Christmas Eve, indeed. It has been an extremely tough year of pain with frozen accounts under the Proceeds of Crime Act. I've been treated like Pablo Escobar. What happened to innocent until proven guilty?
I mean, at least Pablo Escobar delivered a functional product.
Indeed, that is true. Whereas her in 2011, people who riot, steal, cover their face deserve zero human rights. Cram them all in cells. Take all their human rights away from them. If we are paying them money, they have a house. Take it away.
Not surprised that she would think like that.
She's in the House of fucking Lords.
She is in the House of Lords. I mean, if she feels that way about people that she perceives to be persona non grata, I hope she's really good at hiding when the eventual Leninist vanguard happens once we leave the European Convention on Human Rights.
True. I don't know. I think she'll look good in Gulag Orange.
Gulag Orange.
I think you'd have to be orange.
I'm gonna go for.
You've got to go with Guantanamo Bay chic.
True. I mean, if anything is worth doing to our absolute scumbag politicians once the revolution happens, you do it going like Uno Reverso Guantanamo style is probably poetic justice in some way.
True. And you know what? I reckon the Cubans would allow us. We'll see, you can sell. We've got another bag just down the road.
It'll be our own Rwanda plan. Instead of sending asylum seekers to Rwanda, we'll send deposed members of the aristocracy to Cuba.
Let's go.
That's our trade and investment partnership with the Diaz-Canel government.
Let's fucking go.
It's a rigorous scrutiny, and I went through that process and ended up being satisfied that it would deliver, which is why I agreed with the Prime Minister to fund the proposal. And then when I became Prime Minister, we've obviously put new legislation before Parliament, and we've got the Albania scheme up and running, which is a similar version.
Set the shallow points out. Hot pink jumpsuits would be cuter. I actually think it's even better. We should have rainbow jumpsuits. We should literally cover them in progress pride flags to make them feel like extra triggered.
Exactly.
This year we go for like full. We are the terror revolution, and not only are we're terrorizing people apparently in this mythical jokey world that I've created in my mind, but we're also woke. We're going to plaster Black Lives Matter on the side of the UBDA disappearing vans.
And instead of giving them like prisoner numbers, it's just pronouns.
True, everybody gets state-enforced mandatory pronouns, individualized, of course.
Naturally.
Notion of deterrence.
I'm not saying it was a good thing or a bad thing for you as Chancellor to ask those questions. I'm also not suggesting it was a good or a bad thing for you to have doubts and then change your mind. But this is absolutely one of your core priorities now. So I want to be crystal clear with the audience. Are you admitting that you had hesitations about
No, so I think that's the
This is
distinction
really
that you're
important.
trying to draw, which I don't think is fair.
So what did you have then?
My job is to ask probing questions.
Jesus Christ. Well, no, it isn't. You're supposed to answer a probing question. You've been asked 5 fucking times now. Like, it's literally, you can just say, well, I did have my doubts about it and I changed my mind. Or you could say, I analysed it, and during that analysis process, my thoughts underwent a certain progress. Like, that's fine. I don't think that's a problem. Because that's not a U-turn. That's literally just a mental process. It's a thought. It's fine. What... But no, they just have to fucking lie about everything. It's like a compulsion. They just can't tell the truth.
It's the thing is, he's not even doing it for like the public. He's doing it because he'll get Mark Francois they'll be doing beatings like a private school in the background.
Yeah.
He's the shortest one, so he is the minnow of the pack essentially.
True.
And so in their little private school bully boy clubs that they go back to, I'm assuming after they finished in the Commons, if he doesn't do the bidding of the ERG, it'll be fisticuffs.
True. Also, look at his fucking body posture. Like, he's just shrinking into nothingness. If he gets any smaller, he might disappear.
Of every proposal that crosses my desk as Chancellor, whether you have doubts about it or not, you shouldn't come to it with a preconceived notion that everything is fine when you're spending taxpayers' money. Of course you shouldn't. You should always ask probing questions. You should always approach things from a position of scepticism to ensure that you get value for money for taxpayers. That's the job of the Chancellor.
Was that hang on? Am I hearing things? Or was that like a kind of squeaking noise? Like a pulsing squeak that happened?
I didn't pick it up on my end, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was there.
What the fuck? Honestly, they've got like... I don't know what's going on.
And the Treasury when things cross their desk. But to infer from that I don't believe in the scheme or the principle of deterrence is wrong. I was doing my job to get good value for money for taxpayers. I went through that process, funded the scheme with the Prime Minister, and as Prime Minister, myself, as you can see, I've made sure that we have a similar deterrence working with Albania, and I've made the point, actually, that it's because Albania is working...
But Albania is like it's not a great place necessarily, but it's safer, a lot safer than Rwanda.
Yeah,
which literally has a government which has killed migrants. That happened.
I mean, refugees specifically as well. Like Paul Kagame, and not just killed. I mean, there were refugees that were killed in like recent years. There was 6 of them got shot by the police. But in the first Congo War, when the current president Paul Kagame was head of the RPF, the Rwanda Patriotic Front's militarized divisions during the first Congo War, the Rwandan military literally massacred refugees in eastern Congo. Yeah. Thinking that they were people who committed the Rwandan genocide, just fucking massacre people who just fled Rwanda because they might die, because there was continual ethnic warfare at the time. But they just went, "They're fucking kill everybody."
Yeah, he does. His posture is a little bit Mr. Burns. Yeah. And
also, like, it's interesting how Rishi Sunak just feels. He just sounds like somebody who's just not used to ever being questioned.
Yeah, well, he's a fucking rich kid. Yeah, he didn't get questioned. But yeah, and also, just on the core point, even if we ignore his evasiveness, he's going on about getting value for money. Can we also just focus about what poor value for money it is, too?
True, it is poor value for money, yeah.
It would be cheaper to send them on a round-the-world cruise for all the 12 months of the year.
Yeah, you could put them up in the Ritz. In the Key West.
It's ridiculous. It's the worst value for money imaginable. And you still haven't sent a single fucking person. So again, just like Michelle Mone, we've got literally zero value for money. Even if we ignore how repulsive it is on an ethical level, we've still got no value for money. Nothing. Nothing's happened. You fucked yourselves. At our expense. To the tune of 150 million, 200, 300, 500 squillion, who knows?
Yeah.
That we should have confidence that the Rwanda scheme will work too.
It is curious, though, then, that the view in number 10, as the documents that I've seen clearly say, was that you had doubts about the deterrence. I'm just going to get this absolutely on the record, and I'm not asking you to comment on leaked documents. I'm asking you to say completely clearly whether you ever had any doubts about whether or not sending migrants to Africa from UK shores would put people off making the journey across the channel.
Well, this hasn't been tried before in our country. I mean, it's fair to say it is novel.
What the fuck? He's shit at this. He's really
bad. But I mean, again, this is the first time I've ever seen,
yeah,
Laura Kuenssberg properly pressed, like, multiple times.
Follow-up.
To give a straight answer to an easy question, yeah.
Yeah,
genuine scrutiny. I wish they were doing the scrutiny about something that was more important.
Yeah, that would also be true. But, like, I mean, this is the problem. When you say important, I think you mean, like, substantial. Impactful.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it is important because this is going to be one of the cornerstones of their election campaign. And he doesn't believe in it. The Home Secretary, who's trying to push it, doesn't believe in it. No one thinks it's actually going to have any impact. They're just doing it to try and placate some racist pricks. So why not just fucking slaughter him on it? Yeah. This is proper journalism, ridiculously, for the first time ever from Laura Kuenssberg. And that's, But 2024, maybe she's turned off for a new leaf. She's actually going to do a journalism this year.
Yeah, just being too bored of getting shouted at on Twitter with good reason.
Yeah, no, she's been rightly bullied on Twitter quite a lot. So maybe she's gone, you know what, I think I'll do my job this year. Fair play, I'm here for it.
Well, I've been very clear that this is a novel scheme. Of course it's novel, but actually we should have more confidence today.
It's not novel. Australia have been outsourcing their migrants to concentration camps for years.
Sure they have?
It's not remotely novel. It's actually a grotesquely well-trodden path.
That it will work precisely because we've got a returns agreement with Albania that is working incredibly well.
And a separate thing about sending people back to the country that they were from.
No, the principle. Well, that's where I disagree with you, because I think the principle is the same. Because the principle is this.
No, because the people of Albania can go back to Albania and resume their lives in Albania. If you're from Syria and you get sent to Rwanda, a place with a different culture, a different climate, you don't know anyone there, you don't even speak the fucking same language as these people, you don't have any fucking rights there, necessarily, yeah, your life's going to be significantly less functional. So it's not the same, actually.
That's fine. It's fine, Kev. No, we can just go to meetings with the Bashar al-Assad government and get a returns agreement sorted. Just casual meeting. It'll be fine. Yeah, I'm sure that'll work.
Absolutely. Let's go.
If you come,
he does have an English wife, so we've got an in.
It's true.
Here illegally, you shouldn't be able to stay here, and you will be returned either to your home country or indeed to a safe alternative like Rwanda. The principle is that you won't be able to stay here because we will have somewhere else to send you. And that is the deterrence that I think is so important. The National Crime Agency agrees, and that's why I'm so keen to get this scheme up and running. But look, people will disagree. The Labour Party disagrees with that principle, by the way, about having a deterrence and having a workable returns agreement. My view is you cannot solve this problem without having a proper deterrent, and Rwanda is how we will deliver
and Keir Starmer will be here next week, so we'll put lots of questions.
I'm sure you will ask him.
We will ask him lots of questions
how you solve this problem
so today
without a deterrent
Today
like
we're
Rwanda.
here to talk about what you think. This is all.
That was fucking pathetic. This is the level we're at now, where you've got this soulless, empty husk of a human being, poorly refusing to answer the same question 6 times, and then go, well, you need to ask Keir Starmer about that. He's not in the government, mate.
I mean,
he's not in the government.
Yeah.
No one cares. Just
no good.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
Seriously, the Rishi Sunak is just so bad at this.
He's awful.
He's so unlikable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like Emily. I'm like, where's Keir Starmer? It's like boring, and is also like terrible at answering questions. But like, he's just you don't like dislike him for watching him. You just turn off.
Yeah.
Like, if you know about politics, you start disliking him because Keir Starmer is a lying, deceitful toe rag. But you don't just hear the words he says and just immediately just like turn off. You just go to sleep. Whereas Rishi Sunak makes you hate him the more and more he talks at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Keir Starmer's like a boring guy in the pub. He's like, oh, shut the fuck up, Dave. Yeah. Whereas this guy, like, is just likable on every level. There's no redeeming feature to him. I think. No. To be
He's a
honest.
fucking prick.
Yeah.
Dickhead. The absolute searing political analysis from No Justice Channel today. What do you think about the PM? I think he's a dickhead.
See, that I'm a bad influence because I watch you when I'm not on, and it's actually good, proper analysis. Whereas when I'm on, it's easy dickhead. Yeah, I'm like a vortex sucking in the other people's intelligence and erudite kind of analysis, and just leaving you with a husk of dickheadery. I don't know.
Critically important, not just because it's important to the public, not just because you've made it a centerpiece of your premiership, but also some of your colleagues aren't really convinced that you really mean what you say when it comes to immigration. The man who was immigration minister until not long ago.
Yeah, I wonder why. Is it because literally we've seen a massive spike in immigration with you as Prime Minister? Like a massive spike, like literally far above what it's been since, I don't know, since fucking Doggerland was there and you could just walk in. I don't know.
I mean, what's interesting as well is that the reason why that there's really high immigration, that's all changes that the Boris Johnson government did. All he's Chancellor at the time, he's not like out of the woods on that one, but like the change to the visa rules and things like that was all instituted by Boris Johnson specifically.
And they had to in part because we weren't getting fucking migrants from the EU.
The
coming
EU,
in.
literally.
Yeah, post
like students
again.
Like
another benefit of Brexit. Thanks, guys. Jesus, very very annoying. Yeah, and again, like you say, regardless of whether he was Prime Minister at the time, he was Chancellor at the time. You have to take that on board. You don't get to shy away from that.
Robert Jenrick, who's also a friend and a former ally of yours. He says this morning that your position...
Look at that posture. He's Mr. Burns. It's awful. I mean, I joke about him ironically being spineless, but it might actually be true. I don't know.
Is sophistry. In other words, you're sort of misleading people. You don't really mean it. You say you'll do whatever it takes to get this policy off the ground. You want to pass new laws to do that. But this is a technical question, but a very important one. If the European courts put down what's called a Rule 39, like an emergency measure to stop a plane taking off from the UK to go to Rwanda, would you ever be willing to ignore a Rule 39 order?
Well, there's lots in there, but what I'd say first and foremost, I am determined to stop the boats. And I believe, first of all, let me explain why I believe it's important. I believe it's about simple matter of fairness. Right? This isn't something abstract or...
Okay, so open up legal routes then.
Exactly.
Is that not the fair thing to do? No?
Yeah, literally the easiest way of doing this.
Like they'll do this when they want to pretend that they don't hate migrants or that they're not playing into migrant hatred rhetoric. They'll say, well, it's not fair on those who are coming in legally. They're jumping ahead of the queue. The problem is that queue isn't moving because you literally won't allow people to come in legally unless they're from Ukraine, and then even then it's temporary, right?
But also, like if you're coming through legally, that's a different process and system.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're trying to claim asylum, then the only way that you can come here legally is if there is a route to do so,
Yes.
which only exists if you're coming from Ukraine, Hong Kong, or potentially from Afghanistan. Of course, that is something that's very difficult to be able to get through. Hence why 50 people or something out of the tens of thousands who have tried to get here from Afghanistan have gone through that route. Yeah. Places like Syria and Eritrea and Sudan and Iran, of course, as well. That's that's a big country where a load of people come from on through irregular means, right? And most of them do come. The plurality come from Iran. That is somewhere where we don't classify it as a non-safe country. Clearly, it is not a safe country.
I was about to say, is Iran where the Revolutionary Guard will literally just murder people? Is that not a safe place?
Oh, there's literally a popular uprising happening right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, it depends what you mean by safe. If you change the definition to mean any country I want to send someone to, then it is a safe country because they do want to send people back there.
Well, they just get to redefine what safe even means.
Yeah. It's Alice in Wonderland stuff. Words mean exactly what I mean them to mean. Yeah.
Or practical. This is about fairness. I don't think it's right for people to jump the queue.
There you go.
Come to our country illegally. I
mean, we're not playing Rishi Sunak bingo or racist bingo or whatever, but there you go. You can chalk it off.
You can use your bingo. You can use your bingo emotes all you want. We'll
exactly, and you should subscribe so that you can use those bingo emotes.
True, you should subscribe to the bingo emotes 100%, or become a member. I have put the bingo emote on YouTube. A bingo emote on YouTube as well now, I believe.
I didn't even know there were emotes on YouTube.
You can. I get way more on YouTube because people mostly donate on YouTube because I tell them to because it's good for the algorithm. I mostly tell people to gift memberships rather than if you're not going to use a super chat message, you don't get anything out of super chatting. You might as well just gift that same amount in memberships because only 99p each. And then so I've got like 450 members or something on YouTube. So I get like 20 static emotes or 25 static emotes on YouTube. It's got loads of them.
Oh, nice.
Puts untold pressure on our public services.
You've said it many times. I'd like you to address this specifically.
Yeah, sure.
I'm
happy to do.
A Rule 39.
I've been very clear about this. I won't let a foreign court stop our ability to remove people once we have been through our process of Parliament and our court system. I've been crystal clear.
Okay.
Sorry, there was a young black economist that spam my emotes in chat. Thank you. I just forgot. I forgot that I added a new emote to my YouTube emotes, which is just a picture of Todd Flanders from The Simpsons wearing a hat that just says press on it, which is just how I feel about every single journalist in the UK.
Pretty much, yeah. But on the point of him not allowing foreign courts, it was a British court that did it last time, and you fucking flipped out about that. So, like, do any courts? Are they allowed? Any courts are allowed to strike down your obviously illegal bullshit, or not?
I mean, they should be higher than the law because, of course, they are not the party of law and order. They're just the party of order.
Yeah,
law is the mean. Law is the means rather than the ends. Yeah,
indeed.
Clear about that because I believe it's really important.
So, being crystal clear, does that mean ignoring a Rule 39 measure?
I don't need to speculate about the future. I'm very confident.
That's the rub. Forgive me, Prime Minister. You've said you'll do whatever it takes. You've said you won't let a foreign court stop it happening. The practical way in which that could happen would be a Rule 39. Would you or would you not ever ignore a Rule 39?
There's lots of steps between now and then. I'm actually entirely confident that what we're doing is compliant with all our international obligations. But
it definitely isn't.
I've been crystal clear. I won't let a
there are the
foreign
points
court
at
block
which
our...
that Rwanda themselves, again, I would like to remind everybody, headed by the man who, when he was in charge of the Rwandan military, massacred refugees. Even he is saying that he will pull out of the deal if it doesn't meet the international obligations, which he has threatened to do because he thinks that it might not. So Rishi Sunak here being even more right-wing than Paul Kagame.
So yeah, we were being outflanked by Kagame on international rights, international law. Brilliant. This is... Also, can I just point out, this is the British Prime Minister refusing to say, I will comply with the law. That should be a little bit fucking worrying, shouldn't it?
Party of Law and Order, though, Kev. Party of Law and Order. Also, thank you, Kazaku, for the 10 gifted. You said, wait, I should be gifting. You've been super chatting like a dullard this whole time. But if you have a message that you want me to read out, the super chat is the way you would do that. But just, it's always better to gift rather than super chat if you don't have a message for me to read out. That's what I was saying.
And you should come over to my channel and give me money in the form of...
You should. You should.
200 bits or more, you can get a super chat. And the thing is, it will annoy me because the voice will happen in my head when I'm trying to say something. and then the sentence won't come out correctly, and I'll listen back to it later, and I'll sound like a right div. So
I forget what's your subscriber alert as well.
My subscriber alert is an old thing from Michael Jordan from like the 90s saying, "Stop it, get some help. Stop it, get some help." Yeah.
So you get not only do you get all of Kev's emotes, including the fancy, the cute little wigglers, you also get to hear Michael Jordan say, "Stop it, get some help," and you can follow if you want, and you'll be able to hear somebody saying "Victory is ours" as well.
Yeah, Yankee Tanky saying that.
It is indeed Yankee Tanky.
Yeah. And if anyone braids into me, you get to hear the ghost of Stalin saying "off to the gulag" from a PragerU video. I have the best sounds.
That is true. That's true. My raid alert, I just changed it recently. It used to be Keir Starmer saying, "Get up, go home. I'm opposed to what you're doing," which is very funny. But I've now just changed it to Tim Curry saying that he's going to be escaping to the one place that's not being corrupted by capitalism, which is indeed space.
It is space.
Our ability to remove people safely to Rwanda
But
if
you
we get
won't
to that
answer
point.
that question.
I've been very clear. I've said it multiple times. Now, when it comes to the specifics of how we do this, first we have to get the bill through Parliament, and that's, I'm sure when Keir Starmer's here next week, we'll be able to ask him, if you really believe in stopping this problem, why are you not supportive of...
You have an 80 majority. Why are you asking the fucking opposition to vote for your bill? Why are you reliant on them doing so?
It's incredible, like having such a gigantic majority and not being able to do anything with it. It's really funny to me.
It's honestly, it's pathetic. It's like Thor, like refusing to pick up the hammer or something. Like, what are you doing? You're shit.
Of a workable deterrent like Rwanda, and then we will make sure that we can safely remove people. Now, that's how I believe we will solve this problem. But you asked before, which I think is incredibly important, am I really committed to resolving this problem? Well, here are the facts. Before I became Prime Minister, the number of illegal arrivals into this country across the Channel had quadrupled in the past few years.
And the fact is,
since I've been Prime...
Who was the government during that time? Was it probably the Lib Dems, I reckon.
Yeah.
The Minister, they have gone down because of the actions of this government. They've gone down not by a little, they've gone down by over a third.
And legal migration has
whilst
continued to go...
across the rest of Europe they have risen.
Okay,
so that's our track record on this issue. We are making progress, but there's more to do.
We've got a lot to talk about this morning, and I really want to move on. But I also want to say, you say you're being crystal clear. It is crystal clear also this morning that you are not answering the question about whether or not you would ever ignore Rule 39. And I want...
What the fuck happened to Laura Koonsberg? She's been replaced by a journalist.
It's true. She's doing her job. She's actual real journalism. It's a real turnout for the books. And not only is she critiquing him for not answering the question, but she's also critiquing him for the phrases that he used that we absolutely hate, like the "let me be crystal clear" statements that we hear from every politician before they say a bunch of waffle that means nothing and doesn't answer the question. She's even gone back and said, well, you're not being clear, but what is clear is you're not answering the question, which I think is a really good response.
Was she visited by the ghost of journalism past, present and future over Christmas? Is this what's happened? they went to him and went, look, this is your epitaph in The Guardian for when you die. No! Ghost of Christmas future, no! And then they wake up. You boy, what day is this? Yeah, etc, etc. And it's Kermit as well. Mad. Ugh.
True.
To just point that out and get that on the record. No, Prime Minister, you've answered the question.
No, I have been very clear.
But you haven't answered that, and we must move on.
You can read the
What's great?
legislation
Incredible.
that we are passing.
I love it. Sorry,
addresses...
Kev.
No, you're right.
Pause Andy again. But when he just says, no, I have been super clear. And I'm like, that's not for you to judge, Rishi.
Yeah.
That's not your... Again, it's what... I mean, we were watching Keir Starmer on LBC the other day, and he said, well, if you don't know what I stand for, you've not been paying attention. I'm just like, way to call the voters idiots, right? Because that's what Keir Starmer did yesterday when we watched it on stream. But that's literally what Rishi Sunak is doing. It's like, I've been very clear. If you don't understand what I mean, then you're stupid. I'm like, going and insulting the public. It doesn't sound like an electoral strategy to me, Rishi.
No, but it is one of the rare occasions upon which they're being honest, because they do view the people as stupid. So it's one of the few times they're actually giving a genuine human response to it, because they do look down on these people as being idiots, which, to be fair, if you're voting for either of these people, stupidity is not necessarily the only reason you might do that, but it is for a lot of them.
It could theoretically be.
And not everyone who voted for Rishi Sunak is an idiot. Some of them are cunts.
So. True.
And some of them have increased anxiety about Europe or something, yeah.
This issue of Rule 39s makes it crystal clear that it's a matter for ministers to decide at the time on the circumstances of the Rule 39 that is issued. So, yes, you can't give a blanket answer to that question, but the legislation that we are passing is crystal clear that it is ministers who will have the power to decide about Rule 39s, and I've been very clear that I won't let a foreign court block our ability to remove people safely to Rwanda once we have got the bill through Parliament.
Let's check on another one of the promises that you made to the public. We talked a lot about this a year ago. You've said that you promised to get waiting lists down. Now, there has been some progress in those waiting the longest, but overall, waiting lists are still going up. Is it actually still a promise?
I swear to God, if he starts this question with this answer with Albania, I'm going to fucking scream. Okay?
No, I mean, he's got another bugbear though, Kev. He doesn't have to answer about Albania because he can just talk about the doctors' strikes that he definitely has nothing to do with. And Victoria Atkins and Steve Barclay definitely didn't spend a year twiddling their thumbs after being told that there was going to be strike action, not doing anything and pretending that they didn't exist. And then the strike action happened and they're like, junior doctors, how dare you? Despite the fact they've been warned about that stuff months in advance.
Yeah.
You're committed to the public that you're going to get waiting lists down.
Yes, of course it is. And when I made the pledge, and thank you for acknowledging that we have made progress on the longest waiters, where we've virtually eliminated those waiting 2 years and then 1.5 years. And I always said it would be around spring of this year that we would start to see the waiting list fall properly. Now, in spite of the record resources we've put into the NHS, more doctors, more nurses, community diagnostic centres, we are treating more people than ever before in the NHS history, but the waiting lists have not come down, as I would like.
7.71 million people waiting for procedures.
It's far too long.
We're treating more people. Yeah, because there are more people here. That's not like an achievement on your part. Anyway, it's just a weird brag, anyway.
It's far too long. Now, what I would say is, yes, that has happened on my watch. I absolutely accept that. As I said, we've put record resources in, more doctors, more nurses, community diagnostic centres. We're doing all the right things, treating more people. We've obviously been hindered by industrial action. And what I'd say to people is, look, if you see what happened towards the end of last year, we had a period without any strikes in the NHS. And what did we see? We saw the waiting list fall tens of thousands, by 65,000 over the period of...
Well, maybe negotiate properly with the unions and then there won't be fucking strikes and then we can get around the problem that way.
Yeah, it's super easy to solve an industrial dispute. You have a negotiation, you get a settlement that both parties are happy with, and then the people of the trade union then vote to ratify that agreement.
Yeah.
It's a really simple process. It's weird how, say, for example, in Scotland and in Wales, there are no doctor strikes because they got to the table and did a negotiation and the trade unions ratified those agreements. It's just weird, isn't it? Super strange.
No, it must just
one part of the country with like de facto and entire control of the Conservative Party, where those strikes haven't been at least somewhat settled through some kind of negotiated pay arrangement.
No, it's probably just
super weird, isn't it?
No, it's the English junior doctors probably all trots. That's what it is.
It's all Trotskyists. It's very, very true. Very true. Emma Runswick, we're looking at you.
Exactly.
October, waiting lists started to fall when you had a period without industrial action.
By the way,
so
want to point out, for legal reasons, I do not know whether Emma Runswick is a Trotskyist or not. But what I do know is that her mum and dad were big members of the Wallasey constituency Labour Party. And they kept getting smeared by the right wing of the Labour Party for being Trotskyists or interests or whatever, when really they were just pretty forthright members of the Liverpool Labour community, and I think they came at loggerheads with the CLP, and I think even took them to court at some point, but then got readmitted into the party, or then got expelled and then or suspended and then readmitted. Either way, we stand the Runswick family, and Emma Runswick from the BMA is excellent, and you should go follow him.
Gives me the confidence to know that once we can resolve the outstanding industrial action, and I'm sure we'll talk about that we will be able to see waiting lists fall because of the extra investment and resources that we've put into the NHS.
So if strikes have been the problem, and actually the evidence on how much they contribute to the waiting list is mixed, but clearly it is part of the problem. If strikes are part of the problem, are you willing to improve your offer to junior doctors? There is nearly 9% already being offered to them and another 3% on the table. But to get them back to work, to get them back onto the wards, to stop this having an impact on patient for.
Thank you, Alethion, for raiding in. Much love to you. Everyone go and follow Alethion. Hello there, Raiderinos. Hit the follow button and shout at Rishi Sunak because he deserves it.
Patients.
He is a bit of a
Would you
dickhead.
put more on the table?
Well, we
True.
already have. And I think, again, if you look at the government's track record when it comes to resolving industrial
I'm
action,
asking if you put more.
if I could just
It's
answer the
terrible.
question, 'cause I think it's
Their
important to
record
have
on
the
resolving
context.
industrial action is terrible. Like, because all of the other devolved governments all had agreements with things like people like barristers, people like the trains, and the doctors all had agreements solved way before. It's just Westminster. It's just Westminster has this problem with the continual industrial action. Like the fact that it took months and months to get this RDG agreement through with RMC, which is only for 6 months, by the way, right? They can reballot for more strike action come May because it's only an interim agreement. They would have to go through more negotiations. Yet nothing happening in Scotland and Wales. Nothing happening. Really strange, isn't it?
Almost like it's a purposeful tactic to rile up, to allow them to push even more draconian anti-union legislation.
It's true. And on top of that, I just want to debunk this idea because Laura even herself mentioned that there is mixed evidence as to how much doctor strike contributes to increases in waiting lists. And there probably is at least some truth to the potential for them to increase, but that doesn't really matter when waiting lists have continued to increase year upon year upon year upon year upon year, pandemic or no pandemic, by the way, from 2010 until now. As budgets as a percentage of GDP continued to decrease from 2010 up to 2019, because they have put more money in terms of percentage of GDP, but that is a fly in the ointment when all of the damage had already been done by continual lack of investment throughout the entirety of the austerity years. And he is having to pay the price for his failures of the party that he is the leader of currently in their management of the NHS. And so, if you'd not tried to strip as much money out of the NHS as possible or sell it off to private companies throughout the period in which they've been in government for the last 14 years, you wouldn't be having these problems. And quite frankly, tough. Don't become a member of the Conservative Party. It's your own bloody fault, innit?
True. Also, you didn't need to sell it off because West Streeting was going to do that anyway. So,
True.
Didn't need to.
The government has now reached resolution with every other part of the NHS. Nurses, midwives, paramedics, consultant doctors, specialty doctors most recently. So every other part of the NHS workforce, and I'm grateful to them for everything they're doing, has reached a resolution with the government on a reasonable, fair pay settlement. The only people that haven't are the junior doctors. The numbers that you gave, if I could just finish answering, the numbers that you gave demonstrate that actually the pay offer that the junior doctors already have is more generous than any other part of the NHS.
Hang on, but you're not mentioning the junior doctors in those other parts of the country.
That's true. And also on top of that, junior doctors have had the most amount of pay erosion over that period as well. The fact that they are asking for 35% and the nurses are only asking for 25% when it came to their initial figures for the negotiation is because junior doctors are paid less in real terms proportionally than nurses are over that same period, right? It also shows you why Unison and the RCN should never have endorsed the agreement from the government for, was it 8%, like 4% over 2 years plus a little bonus, because all that's done is undermine the junior doctors for their pay agreements here, when both the nurses and junior doctors in the devolved governments got better pay agreements than they got from Central Westminster, and also agreed those agreements far earlier than they did in the Westminster negotiations too. So the devolved governments, they had all these pay deals with the consultants, with the nurses, with the paramedics, with the other hospital stuff. Those deals got solved half a year before the government got their agreements through in Westminster with, say, for example, the nurses and the consultants, which very much only happened recently. Consultants very recently, nurses midway through last year.
True. Thank you, Wayward Historian, with a gifted sub to Maranaka. Much love to you.
So those are the facts, right? And so given that we have managed to find resolution everywhere else, and that the junior doctors have now the most generous pay offer out of anybody in the NHS, I would strongly urge them to come back, talk to the government, so that we can resolve this industrial action.
But the government doesn't want to talk to them.
And start getting the waiting list down.
The government have refused to negotiate unless the doctors call off the strike action. And I'm sorry, that's literally not how industrial relations are supposed to work.
Yeah.
You either have the negotiation first, and then they don't call the strikes, so that you can avoid that strike action happening by coming to agreement beforehand, or you don't negotiate like the government have done, the doctors will call strike action, and then you can get them back to the table to prevent that from happening. You don't say, well, why don't you give up your only bargaining piece first and then come to the table? That's the only way we do business with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's not how these things work.
Exactly, yeah. Literally, it's so stupid. The idea of them being this, not just preconditions, because preconditions can be a number of minor technical things, whatever, but like the precondition that you have to completely disarm. We don't disarm, but you have to disarm before you come to the peace talks. No, what the fuck? Who would possibly do that? We'll give up all of our leverage and then we'll turn up. Fuck off, man. It's so stupid.
Well, it's I get an identical arrangement for all those people who tells we have to vote Labour. I'm like, yeah, that's our leverage. I'm not giving that up, sorry.
No. Indeed.
The evidence shows that we can do when there aren't strikes happening.
What do you think the chances are of resolving it?
Well, I said it's ultimately a question for the junior doctors. The question I'm sure you will be asking them is why, when they have the most generous pay settlement in the NHS, why, when every other part of the NHS workforce, nurses, midwives, paramedics, consultant doctors, have reached an agreement with the government, why haven't they? Because, as I said, what's clear is we can get the waiting list down when we don't have strikes. That's what the numbers show.
We'll get around the table then.
No, come on, Rishi, just call them Trotskyists. Just call them anti-Semites, fuck it. You go the whole hog, Corbyn the shit out of them. Because at the end of the day, they do believe that it's because they're the most militant is the reason why they're holding out. But in truth, the actual reason, as I mentioned before, why they are not accepting the most generous pay offer is because those are the people who have had the biggest level of pay erosion out of all of those different disciplines that he has talked about, who've also had pay agreements with the government.
Idea that people who go into healthcare are some fucking militant tendency or something. Like, what the fuck? They're some of the chillest people in the world. They're not. You don't do revolutions.
Historically, they were very right-wing. Yeah. Historically, doctors have been it's only a very recent thing. In fact, it was in the 2000s under the Blair administration that the BMA were the ones who were deliberately wanting the government to restrict university places for medicine to ensure that they didn't have their supply of labour diluted by new doctors coming into the profession through the expansion of university education within the Blair administration. So they had a lot of right-wing tendencies. Even up to the 2000s, it's only very recently during the austerity period when the Conservatives, under George Osborne, is very much so, tried to completely destroy the NHS under the Landley reforms, under all of that terrible negotiations to the change of contract with Jeremy Hunt. It's only in that period, very recently, that people like the BMA have become so vehemently left-wing in a way that doctors historically really haven't been as middle-class, high-paid professionals.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants to see. I think that's what the doctors would like to see too.
A lot of
and I would urge them to try and come back around the table so that we can get everyone back in and we can start getting the waiting list falling, which is what everyone wants.
And many people watching this morning might wish, actually, that your ministers had tried to resolve these strikes a long, long time ago, because for many months, some of your colleagues sat in the chair and said, we won't budge, there's no more money. And then there was more money in the end. And the strikes, in many people's view, have contributed.
Also, it's so obvious in an era where whenever the fucking markets so much as cough, the fucking central bank can come up with 100 trillion gazillion made-up numbers worth of money to prop them up. There's no more money. We don't have money for this. It's a priority.
The national credit cards run out, Kev.
There's no magic money trees disappeared again. Oh, better luck next time. Pause.
Yeah, plenty of magic money tree to send bombs into Libya and Syria throughout all of that period.
Yeah, exactly. The magic money tree reappeared after October 7th for a bit as well, didn't it? That was nice.
True, indeed. I mean, it quite rightly appeared because after we needed to ensure that there was enough munitions headed to Ukraine for them to defend their territory. But weird how that just suddenly becomes an acceptable use of government spending. In fact, nobody ever critiques a government for how they can afford to pay for military spending, or indeed Boris Johnson increasing our military spending from the NATO required 2% to up to 3%, like he claimed that he wanted to do and was part of their budget. No one asked, how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah,
nobody asked that question.
The budget hawks are very quiet when it comes to bombing people.
No, Taxpayers Alliance completely silent. It's almost like the Tufton Street owned Taxpayers Alliance have a very secret agenda of only opposing the things that are good and not the things that are bad.
True.
To a sense that many people genuinely feel in the country, that things just aren't working very well. One of our viewers, Gary, wanted us to put this to you. He said, and we can...
It's literally true. It's a classic old meme now, I suppose. It's funny that we stopped investing in infrastructure in the 80s, and now nothing works and everything is shit. But we've got 12 people who are more wealthy than God, and it's basically true. That's exactly what it is. Nothing works because we've stopped funding it. We've stopped putting money into things. We stopped building new things. We stopped developing new shit. And we've fallen behind completely, and now nothing works. Now we are a replacement bus service nation.
It's so true. It's so true. In the words of Mick Wright, it's like the Soviet Union, but shit and expensive.
Exactly. And we've got homelessness. We haven't even got the fucking. We haven't even got. We can't even build commie blocks. We can't even do that.
No, exactly. But have you considered the little Annunziata living in rural constituency in the southwest, that her property value might slightly decrease if we built affordable housing in the area, and that's what's really important.
True. You know what? You put it all into perspective. You've convinced me. Thank you. Oh, I fucking hate this place so much.
I'll show you what he said. From NHS delivery to potholes on roads and everything in between, delivery's getting worse. It's not good enough to blame COVID or wars. The bottom line is it feels worse in this country for many ordinary people. Is he wrong?
I think, I was here almost exactly a year ago. You and I were talking about the outlook for the country over the course of last year. If you think about what was being said then, people were projecting that we would have a year-long deep recession this year. Well, in fact, we've avoided that, outperformed countries like Germany.
Hang on, are you saying because we aren't in one technically right now, that the fact that we'll probably be in one for the 3 quarters at the end of the year doesn't matter?
I mean, they did downgrade our growth to 0.1%. Yeah. So actually, there wasn't 2 quarters of negative growth. There was 2 quarters of zero growth. So we technically avoided a recession in the most technical way possible. Yeah. In the fact that if our growth was even a slight minuscule bit lower, yes, we would have been in a recession. But we slightly avoided it. And he said, "Oh, well, we've beaten countries like Germany who are actually in recession." Yet you look at countries like Norway who are getting like 4% growth, who are massively outstripping us in growth across different parts of the EEA. Amusingly, ones who are not within the Eurozone, but in the European Economic Area, those economies all doing great at the moment. Indeed, the ones that don't rely on European oil and gas markets. Yeah. Weird that.
Yeah, we could. If only we'd had the opportunity to join that block of nations, the EEA, that would have been intriguing, wouldn't it? But no. What we needed to do.
We had an even better deal. Because we're part of the single market. Yeah. We had actual kind of veto power within the European Parliament on policy, and we still had a sovereign currency. We had the sweetest deal possible.
Yeah, but we went, fuck it, let's Thelma and Louise this bitch into the chasm. Woo!
Absolutely.
Inflation, having an impact on Gary and everyone else, was running at close to 11%. It's now been more than halved, and it's less than 4%. And the notion that we'd be able to cut taxes for people like Gary to put more money in his bank account.
You are not cutting taxes. Stop lying.
Tax burden's still going up.
It's fucking infuriating. It's the
dumbest,
most obvious fucking lie. And yet that's the only thing they say every fucking time.
Will Laura Kuenssberg go even further? Will she call him out for lying to us twice in one interview?
If she does,
honestly, on a postcard chat.
Honestly, I will be dumbfounded.
Yeah, me too.
Was fanciful, but in fact the Chancellor's just announced £20 billion of tax cuts.
Let's be
they came in this
on
weekend for someone earning £35,000. That's a tax cut worth £450.
Let's be clear on that point.
All of that shows to me that we have made progress. The plan is working. We're starting to deliver the long-term change that our country needs, that I want to deliver for Gary. And the job now is to stick to that plan so that we can give him and everyone else peace of mind that the future is going to be better for their children. And we can have a renewed sense of pride in our country.
On the point on taxation, we must be clear with people. For those who earn least and for those who earn most, they are not seeing a reduction in their tax bill at the moment. And actually, the tax burden overall is at a record high. So, absolutely.
And almost...
She didn't mention specifically why. If it was me, I would have said because all of those tax cuts from national insurance get out taxed by the fiscal drag increase that's happening. Right, so she could have gone even further by specifically pointing out that it's fiscal drag. But she is right that she is right that these people are not getting tax cuts. Really interesting how these middle earner swing constituency voters just getting a tax cut that basically only affects them. How strange that that's the very specific demographic that's getting pandered to by the Sunak administration. Yet they want to cut benefits for the disabled. How curious.
Yeah. Let's not nitpick Laura, okay? She's new to this doing journalism thing. Previously, she'd have just gone, "Oh yes, Prime Minister, that's fantastic, Prime Minister." Moved on to the next question by now. So the fact that she's even brought it back and been like, "No, actually, let's be honest here. You're talking shit." Good, awesome.
Absolutely.
I am absolutely on board with you being a journalist, Ark.
Doing your job, incredible.
Yeah, you only became the fucking chief politics editor for the BBC for the past fucking 5 years or whatever, for you to eventually start doing your job. But you know what? Better late than literally never.
You have done your cut to national insurance, but it is not as simple as you have just suggested.
Well, if I could just answer that, because you've said obviously a very important thing. For those on the lowest incomes, we raised the national insurance threshold, the personal allowance, so that you can now earn £1,000 a month without paying any tax or national insurance. We already did that. That disproportionately obviously benefits the lowest paid. The national living wage has gone up by record amounts last year and this year, and the proportion of people in the lowest pay is the lowest on record.
Rishi, all of those cuts get completely negated by the fiscal drag. Yeah. It's still an increase in the tax burden. That's exactly what Laura was saying.
Fiscal drag's got nothing to do with drag time story hour. That's a different thing.
True.
Yeah.
Talked about tax cuts. As I said, an average person earning £35,000 from this weekend is seeing a tax cut worth £450.
But overall,
that is meaningful. That's going to make a difference to people like Gary and everyone else.
And I'm not
and that is my priority going forward, is cutting people's taxes.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you next. And overall, the tax burden is higher than it's ever been. And many people will see an improvement from what you've done this set of changes, but many people also will not. You told the Sunday Telegraph that
27 million people in work will see a tax cut as a result of what we've done this weekend.
You told the Sunday Telegraph your priority is cutting taxes, not more government spending. And you said
what the fuck is wrong with their microphones? It's oh god, it's so bad. Okay.
Only way to do that is to have a smaller public sector. So which bits of the public sector do you want to shrink?
Well, it's about the rate of growth between the economy and the rate of growth in public services. So my priority going forward, which the Chancellor also reiterated at the weekend, our joint priority for the country is to make sure that we control spending, control welfare, so that we can cut people's taxes.
So who's going to lose their benefits then?
And that's what we've done over the past year. Because we've managed the economy responsibly, halved inflation, said no to lots of things that people wanted us to do. We've been talking about public sector pay earlier. There's an example of why it's the wrong thing to do, to just say we should say yes to whatever people want. But we just had that conversation. There's an example. Again, by the way, Keir Starmer opposed any one of those difficult decisions, and I'm sure you'll ask him when he's here which ones he agrees and doesn't agree with.
He said repeatedly he'll be here this week.
But that's how you cut people's taxes. Mm-hmm. It requires discipline. It requires making those difficult decisions, and that's what I've done.
But you've said
again, every single time they say, "Oh well, the thing is the people asked us to do these nice things for people that wanted them in the public sector with pay or with increased welfare payments or for investment in public services." But I had to make the very difficult decision to actually just continue to throw money at the private sector to be able to increase the value of their share price for the people who donate to my political party. That was the very tough choice that I made, specifically so that I could benefit my donors and swing voters and disenfranchise everybody else, which is, of course, not a tough decision at all. That's a very easy decision to make, to be able to enfranchise the only people who matter, i.e. the rich and swing voters.
Yeah, when people say stuff like that, like, we've made difficult decisions. Difficult for who?
Yeah.
Not for you and your friends. Difficult for those least able to defend themselves. You fucking monster.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
This is to have a smaller public sector. And you said that you've pointed to the welfare budget. So who will expect to have less generous welfare payments?
I didn't just point to the welfare budget. It's across the board. It's about discipline on
highlighted
public
the welfare
sector. No, it's
budget.
about discipline on public sector pay. So there's one example, which we've done last year, finding ways to make fair pay settlements. Actually, I made a decision before that as Chancellor, which is to reduce our aid budget. Right? That's something that Keir Starmer and the
Literally, even poorer people. Literally, people
I mean,
who
to be
have
fair-
got no food and water and shit.
I mean, to be fair, for a lot of the time, foreign aid money is just being given to the rich people of that country, and it never actually filters down. I mean, Matt Kennard has done really good work on showing how a lot of foreign aid is just being done to prop up NGOs and prop up like the business sectors that's already rich in the countries, and not actually fix the problems that are really caused by unequal exchange and the capitalist imperial pipelines from those deprived nations. But you know, the solution to that is to do foreign aid better. It's not to take away all of the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Labour Party opposed, so I'm sure when he's here next week you'll ask him about that. Now, when it
I'm
comes
sure when he's here next week you'll ask him about that. Fucking hell, you little bitch. Shut up.
comes to welfare, I'm happy to talk about that. What we've seen over the past couple of years is a very significant rise in the number of people who are being deemed unfit to work. And that's something that is concerning to me. I believe very strongly in the importance of...
Interesting how we've just had a very long conversation, Rishi, about the increase in the hospital waiting lists that you admit has continued to increase, but you said apparently that you'd get this down in the last quarter of this year, even though you said it was a thing that you do by the end of last year, but whatever. No one's going to call you out on that, apparently. But now you're saying, oh, there's actually now there's loads of people who are unfit to work, and that's a real problem for our labour market. First of all, because it meant that it's tighter, so people are having higher wage demands. But on top of that, it meant that our productive capacity is going down. I'm like, do you not think there might be a link between the high NHS waiting lists because of austerity that your government did and the increase in people who are unfit to work because they're too sick?
No,
might be a link
just
there
need,
somewhere.
no, just need to cattle prod the motherfuckers out to work.
True,
I'm surprised
absolutely.
they'll introduce a bill next week called the Cattle Prod Bill, and they'll just force poor people to have to go to work with like limbs hanging off. Fuck it.
But they can work from home, Kev. All of it will be solved because the disabled can work from home, apparently, says somebody who's never met a disabled person at all and has never worked from home ever.
hard work and rewarding hard work, which is why we're cutting...
Actually, you say that, he does work at number 10, so he does work at home.
He does.
Checkmate.
But I mean, the people in the media also, well, I guess the media people say they work from home, but they don't work from home in a job that's, you know, not writing an article twice a week, which takes them 3 hours.
How
Actually
dare
doing
you?
proper-
How dare you? Camilla Tominey puts at least 3 seconds of thought into each of her articles. You are outrageous slander against the fine scribes of this nation.
And also, he says he wants to reward hard work. Okay, reward the junior doctors with higher pay then.
Yeah, because they're actually worthwhile.
It's true.
Yeah.
Is on work as of this weekend, very significantly. Now, in the last decade, that system hasn't been reformed at all. And you've seen the number of people who are signed off has tripled. Now, do I think our country is 3 times sicker than it was a decade ago? The answer is no. I think the system is not working.
They're fucking malingerers. He's literally doing the bit. Oh, they're not really sick. Fuck them. Thanks. Thanks, Rish. You are an absolute wanker.
I mean, I'd rather they would be malingers rather than malingerers and get 4-4 against South Africa.
True, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure everyone can have that kind of low arm delivery and perfect it that well.
True.
That is a very unique skill. And but I will say, if people want to do the hair thing, I'm for it.
True, absolutely. And also worth pointing out, 4-4 against Sri Lanka as well. He's done it twice in international cricket.
Against
New Zealand. Against New Zealand, sorry.
I was about to say, what, he ran out 4 of his teammates in 4 successive deliveries. That is not... I mean, for a start, he'd have to go up in the order to even manage that. That'd be amazing.
As it was designed to work, and now we are bringing forward reforms that will mean that we look at the eligibility for who is signed off sick. That won't affect all those on existing benefits. It will come in over time on people who are newly presenting to the welfare system, and that is something I think is the right thing. It's about fairness. It's about making sure that everybody who can work does work, and for everyone who is working hard, we reward that hard work with tax cuts. That is a conservative approach. It's one that I think is right for our country. And again, I'm sure you'll ask Keir Starmer next week, does he agree with that or not? Because I haven't heard an answer on that question.
trying to helpfully suggest
You're a whingy little bitch.
lots of
Also,
questions. for Keir Starmer, who
again, like him saying the reward hard work line and making sure that everybody who can work does work. This is this assumption that people always have. People always make this assumption that there is this large proportion of people signed off as not fit for work who could be working.
Yeah.
They always make this assumption that actually the doctors are all wrong. All of these medical professionals who've explicitly signed these people off as unfit to work are just lying, or they're part of a scheme to fraudulently put people who should be working out of work. And this assumption doesn't make any sense and doesn't have any basis in reality. They just get propagandized to by fuckers like Rishi Sunak into believing that this massive cohort of people exists when it doesn't, because it's the only justification they can have for continual slashing of our minuscule welfare state. Our benefits are tiny, tiny compared to other countries in Europe.
They're Rishi-sized, yes.
True.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the same excuse they'll use. It's the thing they have to use to justify their evil to themselves, I think, just on a psychological level. That in the same way that fucking fucking Witchy was going on about homelessness being a lifestyle choice, right? Or essentially people choosing to be poor rather than pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It's the only way Conservatives can justify their fucking evil to themselves and to the world.
Yeah,
by pretending
absolutely,
actually it's all about personal choices. And that me being born into the a family of millionaires, I just worked harder to get where I am. If you'd worked just as hard, you'd have gone just as far. Meritocracy, bitches. It's nonsense, but it's a thing they have to tell themselves.
Yeah, because if they ever bothered facing the actual reality of the kind of results of the policies they passed, they would just never be able to sleep at night. Like, if George Osborne genuinely believed that the studies that have been shown about the cost of austerity was true, honestly, he'd be in the Thames at this point. He just wouldn't be able to live with himself. I would. If I realized I was responsible for more deaths than Idi Amin, I would just fucking end I would something in Minecraft.
Yeah, you'd play Minecraft. Yeah.
I would play a lovely game of Minecraft.
Yeah, I think we all would. Yeah.
Reminder our viewers, we'll be here next week. This week, you are here to answer about your approach.
Even she's calling him a little bitch. Like, he's on next week. I'm talking to you now. Stop being a bitch.
Talk more about your approach and the election in a few minutes, but I want to touch on a few things that have really
how bad a Conservative leader have you got to be if you're losing Laura Kay? Jesus Christ.
Really, truly.
That is tragic. Like, she was okay with Liz Truss for the fucking half an hour she was Prime Minister.
Eyebrows in the last few months. Now, the scandal at the post office has shone a light on how many lives were ruined, and ITV Drama has really highlighted what happened there. We'll be talking to one of the
Surely you as a journalist should have known about that anyway.
I mean, it did get covered, just not enough, I guess. But
like, again, it just sort of shows you. Like, I think there are a lot of people in the commentariat who were surprised by all of this because they didn't learn about. They didn't bother to look into any of this. Honestly, the fucking drama theatre kids doing shows and stuff now are better journalists than the actual journalists we have.
I mean, you literally said it on stream that just people on YouTube and Twitch are better at holding our politicians to account.
Well, you are. Honestly, you are the journalism of Britain.
Yeah.
It's like you like Marina Purkis, and that's about it, I think.
I mean, if you want to do a shout out in chat, I've been really enjoying Big Madge Studios' content, calling out Labour and the Tories on their absolute nonsense. So, big ups to Big Madge Studios. Go drop a follow.
Fair dues.
Postmasters a bit later, but Susan Knight, who was a postmistress, has this question for you, and you can watch it on there.
Now, I know it's just a gendered thing, but postmistress sounds way sexier.
It does sound good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do to ensure that we get fair and final compensation, not in dribs and drabs? It's right for
Not just that, she was a sub-postmistress.
So she was a switch.
Yeah. What about the dumb sub-mistresses, though?
Absolutely.
Not at a snail's pace. Please stop making us still feel like victims.
Now, I want to remind our viewers that the post office is wholly owned by the government. So that perhaps point has not been made that much. Only 11 out of 475 of the full and final compensation deals have been completed. Can you set a deadline?
But the system was
Can you tell
private.
people
Like the
Susan-
system that was the system and the cover up was
Yeah.
because of a private system.
Yeah.
It's Fujitsu, wasn't it?
when it's all going to be sorted out?
So look, everyone has been
Pause 1 sec,
shocked
Kev.
by.
I want to point out to Solly that the Post Office and Royal Mail are two completely separate
They
entities.
are, yes.
They are linked in terms of the ways in which that they provide the service. But Royal Mail PLC is a publicly traded company
Yes.
that is owned by some equity firm from Luxembourg. The Post Office is owned by the state still.
Yes. Yeah. Which
Although
sounds,
to be fair,
ridiculous,
those-
but it's yeah.
It is very. I mean, the whole system that Vince Cable did when he ran through the power system was so fucking monumentally stupid. It defies all rationality. Also worth pointing out,
and it
not
was-
all of.
Yeah,
Go
go
for
on.
it, sorry?
I was just going to say, it
I was
was
gonna
also sold off at massively under market value,
Yeah.
costing the British taxpayer hundreds of millions of
Millions
pounds.
of pounds, yeah. Matthew Wright talks about that a lot. It's really interesting that he pointed that out at the time. Also worth pointing out as well is that there is one part of Royal Mail that didn't get privatised, and that is the pensions. So the taxpayer still pays for the pensions of the Royal Mail staff. Sorry,
We really do.
and
We do socialism for companies.
we literally do. All the money, just all the cheap shares, they only got the actual milk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just get the cream. We get like the fucking
Yeah.
shitty curds at the end of it. Thanks. Fucking, it's just, it's scandalous. Again, if only we had journalists to hold these people to account.
By watching what they have done over the past few days and beyond, and it is an appalling miscarriage of justice. Obviously, it's something that happened a very long time ago in the 90s, but actually seeing it and hearing about it again, it just shows what an appalling miscarriage of justice it is for everyone affected, and it's important that those people now get the justice that they deserve.
Should they all be
And
exonerated?
and that's what the compensation schemes are about. So the government has paid out about almost 100.
No, we don't have two mail systems. No, again, it's slightly complicated, but the Royal Mail and the Post Office, they interact in terms of the way in which their businesses operate, because they're sort of part of the same system of sending mail, right? But the Royal Mail was sold off, and the Post Office, which is like the actual buildings and stuff, which are post office, they're still publicly owned, and we keep all the negative stuff like the pensions, and the rich people just get to cream off the profits.
Exactly. So worth pointing. So the post office is the brick and mortar stores, and Royal Mail will send their people to pick up the mail from the post offices. But the post office has other remits on top of that, like they'll do foreign exchange. People have post office accounts and things like that.
Yeah.
As a kind of a basic there's a lot of people who are on benefits who will get benefits paid into a post office account rather than into like an official current account. It's a separate thing.
Which was a
as
really
kind of
big
cash card. Yeah.
A really big deal back before, because people forget. Up until like the 90s, a lot of people couldn't get bank accounts. They didn't just. It's not like now where you just walk in and you say, "I want to open a bank account," and they do. Like you had to apply and shit. So for people receiving pay and stuff like that couldn't get a bank account, you'd go to the post office. You'd have it paid into the post office. Yeah.
£50 million to thousands of people already. Of course, we want to get the money to the people as quickly as possible. That's why there are interim payments of up to, I think, £600,000 that can be made. There are 3 different schemes available, and for anyone who's affected, they should come forward, talk to the relevant bodies so they can get their case worked through as
But
quickly
will
as
you take
possible.
extra measures on top of those? There's a report this morning that your Justice Secretary is considering looking at either exonerating everybody, that's a recommendation that has been made, or taking the Post Office's ability to investigate and prosecute away. Would you like to see that happen?
So the Justice Secretary is looking at the things that you've described. It wouldn't be right to preempt that process. Obviously, there's legal complexity in all of those things, but he is looking at exactly those areas that you've described. It's right that we find every which way we can do.
Also worth pointing out,
to
actually,
try
Michael
and
Gunn made a really
make this right.
really good point in chat. Very interesting that it's public money that's going to be compensating these people. Are Fujitsu going to be paying a penny, I wonder?
No. The answer is no.
The answer, of course, is no. Private gains for public losses every single fucking time without fail in this stupid country where nobody ever gets their comeuppance as long as you're a wealthy private individual. Fuck this country.
True.
For the people who were so, I said, wrongfully treated at the time. The compensation is a part of that. But as you say, there are legal things that maybe...
Notice how he's just dropped the tenor of his voice slightly to sound like he's being really sympathetic with these people. It's almost like he's had media training and he's gone into Rishi compassion mode. Beep boop. I believe in you. Ugh.
Possible as well, and that's what the Justice
So
Secretary
those are
is looking
potentially
at.
on the table.
Again, I wouldn't want to preempt or speculate on it, but those are all the
those
types
are
of
on the
things
table.
that are being looked at.
What has also really riled people, though, is the mess around PPE procurement during COVID. Now, I'm sure that you saw before Christmas, Michelle Mone, the former Conservative peer, admitted that she had lied about her involvement with a PPE deal. But she also believes very strongly that she and her husband have been made scapegoats. Now, there's a criminal investigation, and I wouldn't expect you to comment on that. But
Yeah. Pablo Escobar.
The irony is,
Pablo Escobar was a job creator. Okay.
True.
Yeah.
It's a private individual making mutually beneficial transactions.
Entrepreneur.
With free access. Yeah.
We need to support
Very
entrepreneurial upstart
Spirits.
businesses. Yes. Small and
Absolutely.
medium-sized enterprises becoming international concerns. Love it. Let's go.
Absolutely. He was not a crony of the government like Michelle Mone. He was far more personally driven in the meritocracy. Clearly, an example of the meritocracy working. And the thing as well is that Michelle Mone isn't necessarily wrong that she's been made a scapegoat here, because of course the entire government is at fault.
Yes.
The Tories are at fault for giving her the contract, and the people in government are also at fault for all of the other contracts, like when people like Matt Hancock's mates at the pub, or shell companies set up in 5 minutes by people who are donors to the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I literally went over that. There's a fantastic thing I forget which newspaper, one with the Mirror, and it was like a diagram of all the various people in government and their connections to all these different companies that got millions and millions of pounds of money. They were all as thick as thieves. They were all had their snouts in the trough, and their mates were getting money, and their family members were getting money. They're all in it. So it's less that she's a scapegoat; she's a sacrificial lamb. She's the one that's
She's
going
the
to
fall guy.
getting thrown under the bus while the rest of them get off scot-free. So in that respect, I can understand her being a bit annoyed by that. But I mean, you got into bed with, thieves.
You're again lying down with the dogs, covered in fleas.
Yeah, you
got what
can't
you
really
wanted.
complain. You can't really complain at that point. I mean, again, did your parents not teach you, Michelle? You can't point at it and go, "Oh, look, but he's doing it as well." No, that's not an ethical standard. Okay.
Yeah. Also worth pointing out as well in that she also dropped a load of people in it, which was very, very funny. Like the
That
text
was
from Lord
true.
Bethel that he
Yeah.
claimed to the COVID inquiry he didn't have access to.
Yeah,
because
it's
from
very
2020.
But he did have that one very specific and very pertinent text, but none of the other texts. They all disappeared.
Yeah, he had that screenshotted and saved to like an archive somewhere.
Yeah. Perfectly. Look, we're a very normal country, okay, with believable public servants. 100%.
many PPE contracts seem to have gone wrong. There was £9 billion.
Gone
of
wrong?
release.
That's interesting verbiage you've used there, Laura. Gone wrong. That sounds like very neutral language for rampant fucking corruption.
Yeah. Also, 9 billion. 9
billion.
That's
9 billion.
so
How
massive.
many Rwanda plans is that, Kev?
About 12. No, it's exactly. Oh God, we could build HS2. Oh
How many?
God.
How many? The money birds can come back to the with 40 of new hospitals.
Well,
250 million quid a week for the NHS.
That's the thing. Well, exactly. The magic money tree has been fucked to death to the tune of 9 billion, apparently.
No worries. I mean, one thing that will make me happy about this potential Labour government is they have promised that they will go after all of the COVID PPE fraud, and watching those people come down is going to be glorious. It's going to be so good. It's going to warm the cockles of my heart to watch these absolute corrupt pieces of shit getting destroyed.
Just who wants to break it to Helena that that's not going to happen?
I mean, I think it will happen because it's good electorally for Labour. That's what every policy they do. It's only about the next election because they've become what the Conservative Party do, where they only do policy if they know it's electorally viable. And if you essentially spend your entire term in Parliament spending your time going, well, this person is related to the opposition party, they're corrupt as fuck, it's going to be super worth it for them to do it. I do believe that they will do it. It's the one thing that it makes sense for them to do because the Conservatives can't attack them on it because they know that they're guilty of sin.
Okay. I mean, all I'll say is we'll watch this space. Someone please clip
If
this
it doesn't
bit.
happen, I won't be surprised. Like, I'll be surprised if it doesn't happen. But all of my critical faculties it makes sense to me that there's no reason why even the most right-wing person in Labour wouldn't want to essentially make sure that their opposition can never get elected again.
All I'm going to say is, usually the good thing to do is to say, I would hate to say I told you so, because that's the polite thing to do. But as you well know, I'm not a polite man. I love to say I told you so. And when that doesn't happen, I will absolutely be screaming from the rooftop. I will go out and buy a megaphone and scream into the megaphone at you that I told you so. Okay?
Fruji just points out in chat, they'll just buy Keith 1 ticket to a musical or something and get off with a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. True.
How are you trying to get money back from other companies that were involved in waste of billions of pounds during the pandemic? And will anybody else be held accountable?
I think, look, the first thing to say is that anybody who took advantage of an incredibly difficult time for our country to either defraud the public or do things that were illegal should be pursued with the full force of the law.
So there would not be a Tory MP left?
Not all of them gone. I mean, maybe Jacob Rees-Mogg would be the only body left because he just only didn't claim any expenses.
True.
But
It'll just be him and Fabricant, the two weirdest cunts in Parliament.
Most ridiculous MPs. Yeah. Actually, that's important for what Geeky Rory actually points out in chat, that what won't happen is any of the money coming back.
Yeah.
They won't chase any of the actual money coming
gone,
back.
yeah.
They might make a political scene out of these people are bad from the Conservative Party because of what they did. But will they actually chase the public funds from the private entities that got the funds? No, I don't think so.
They have informed they've made the tax man now go after people who might be making a little bit of money on like eBay or something like that. They are going to go after people who might make a fiver doing that. But people who stole literally £9 billion from the public purse, nah. You're not going to be able to find any of that. I mean, where would you even start looking? In like banks and stuff? Paper trail? Nah, no. What's that? A disabled person claimed £3 more than they were due. No!
As a country, and the job was to get PPE to those on the front line who needed it. Everyone will remember how stressful that was.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, Fabricant will be left, but his hair will be gone because that hair was doing deals. Okay? Look, don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay?
If people were, as I said, trying to take advantage of that system and defraud the taxpayer, that's completely and utterly wrong. It's appalling, and we should pursue them with the full force of the law.
And do you believe that other people did?
I said that there are processes in place that the government has as a public sector fraud authority and others that do those investigations and that diligence. Where we believe that that's happened, the government will of course take action. And as you said, in this particular instance, the government has taken legal action against the company in question, which is why I can't comment. And more generally, you wouldn't expect me to comment on individual cases, but I can tell you that I, of course, take them.
Well, no, because this isn't just an individual case. This was a member of your party who was in the Lords. So, I mean, actually, I'd say that's pretty pertinent to your purview. That's not a random private...
and also enabled by another member of your party who was also in the Lords.
Yeah, exactly, literally. So, just this isn't like a random private citizen. Okay, this is a member of the House of Lords. I think it's fair for you to comment on that, actually, Rish.
Yeah.
You know what? Go for it. Now, in terms of it being an ongoing legal case, of course, you literally then can't, because was it sub judice or whatever it's called. But you can say, nah, she was whack. She shouldn't have done that shit.
And should you pay the money back?
Yep.
Give us the money back.
Yeah, where's that money? But to be fair, they did provide a pile of literal shit. So, technically, that contract was fulfilled.
matter incredibly seriously. It's wrong if that happened, and where there is evidence of it, of course the government will pursue people with the full force of the law, because that's the right thing to do. And people should not be able to get away with things like that.
Let's talk politics then. You said this week the general election is going to be in the second half of the year. It seems though like some of your MPs are already trying to make it happen in a sort of slow and painful way by making their own decisions to pack up and go home and to stand down. Chris Skidmore, Tory MP, has said he's off this week. He wasn't very obliging about what you've been doing in government. There have been 5 by-elections already since you've been Prime Minister. 50...
Jesus Christ. He's only been Prime Minister a fortnight. How the fuck has there been 5 of them? And there are another 2 coming down the pipeline already?
As I said, just playing musical chairs, they all get access to the Prime Minister's pension.
Yeah, fair enough.
3 Tory MPs have already said that they're going to stand down. How can our viewers have confidence in your project when so many of your own team, or meant to be of your own team, are walking away?
Well, it's been a tough time for our country over the past year or 2.
Oh, that's pathetic.
Yeah, what whose fault that is?
That's the line you're going to go with. You just go, no, they should have absolute faith because I'm fucking badass, and give yourself the big up. Where it's just like, it's been a difficult time, actually. And so it's understandable that the Tory backbenchers are all like the rats deserting a sinking ship, because we are a sinking ship. And this is shit and terrible, and we're all going to drown in the fucking sea.
With the legacy of COVID and the impacts that's had on backlogs, the war in Ukraine, the pressure that's put on inflation.
Jesus Christ! He managed to fucking get Ukraine in there. Leave it, Rish.
Energy bills. But I genuinely believe that we've turned a corner. I think the country is now pointing in the right direction. The plans that we've put in place.
What? Waiting lists going up, boats not stopped, recession on the horizon, cost of living crisis worse than ever, mortgage payments out of control. In what universe have we turned the fucking corner?
We turned a corner right into another wall. Broke our fucking nose.
Yeah, we turned a corner like Princess Diana.
Oh, too soon. Too soon. The princess of our hearts. She was a candle in the motherfucking wind.
Deliver the long-term change that our country needs to see. And my view would be that we've got to... my job is to talk to everybody and show that we've got to stick with the plan. Because the plan is starting to work to deliver the change that the country needs, the long-term change that the country needs. We've been talking about that already in this interview, the progress that we've been making. Of course I know there's more to do, but progress is being made. The country is now pointing in the right direction, and if we stick to the plan, we can continue to deliver that long-term change.
I mean, technically, downwards is a direction.
True.
So.
True. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's ultimately how we'll provide everybody with the peace of mind that the future is going to be better for their children and that they can have a renewed sense of pride in the United Kingdom. And that's what I'm setting out to deliver.
Long-term change, you said a few times. I think we might have heard a slogan in there. Keir Starmer set out one of his mantras for the public this week. He's going with Project Hope. But I asked some of your colleagues what their slogan for the Conservative Party would be in the next election. Here's a select few. Secure the recovery was one MP's suggestion.
Secure the recovery. Fuck off. Who did... What fucking 6-year-old nonsense is this?
And also, what about
do
the
good thing, people. Yeah, woo. Sorry, I shouted all over you with my nonsense. What were you saying?
I was just saying, Laura Kay forgot about the Keir Starmer's decade of national renewal.
Fuck yes. There's a new bingo in town, people.
Things can only get better. But a PG version of what was said to me, we're a bit rubbish, but the other lot would be tons worse.
So we're shit. So one of his own MPs said to the political editor of the BBC, we're shit.
But Labour are worse.
Look, yeah, there's that as well. But, like, we don't even need to go that far into the sentence. They literally said, we're actual shit.
Rishi's face is the exact person who's being told all your mates hate you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Look, if he wasn't such a bastard, I might feel sorry for him. But, like, he's actually evil, so...
He's such a cunt. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it. You know, die on this hill, get humiliated. It's funny.
Yeah, you deserve to be hated. Even by the people who are supposed to be your mates. Yeah. I mean, you lost to the person who lost to the lettuce. That should tell you something about your fucking popularity, mate.
Like, if Keir Starmer doesn't say that at the fucking debates, like he's such a cuck bitch if he doesn't say that. If he does not talk about like losing the person who lost to a lettuce.
Just shitpost about it as well, right? Come out, right? Have a prop, right? Have a lettuce with you, and just give do the lettuce line, and then just bring out the lettuce and just leave it there.
Yeah, this lettuce here is 2 people more effective than Rishi Sunak
When
is.
just leave it there. You don't even need to comment on it again. It's just there in the shot every time the camera's on you, and it's just lettuce. The lettuce is just there. A constant searing reminder of how fucking unlikable you are.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Also, I'd like to point out as well, it's been 2.5 hours. If you are enjoying the content, you can of course subscribe on Twitch to both myself and my esteemed colleague, Mr. Kevin Logan, KF Logan 1875 over on Twitch, for $3.99. All for free with Twitch Prime by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Get your free sub every single month, courtesy of Jeff Bezos himself. You can also drop bits on Twitch, 100 on my or 200 my end or 200 on Kev's, gets you text to speech. If you're watching on YouTube on my end, you become a member for 99p, cheaper than a can of Red Stripe. You can also gift memberships to your fellow viewers to get access to the static emotes, which is your benefit of your YouTube membership, as well as my old archived live streams. And of course, if you want to send me a highlighted message, I read out all super chats live on stream, which is another way you can support the stream should you wish to.
See, that's really good. I just go like, give
me money, you bellends.
Dickheads. Yeah. See, there's a difference there. Actually, I did stop myself, but I saw one of those weird political compass things with like 1 million different squares in each of the quadrants. It's like Stalinist, and then like a Hitlerite, and blah blah blah. And one of them was Navarra contributor.
$5 a month.
And I did, and I was like, do I tweet her at this or not? No, I'll leave it. But but it was like, it was a bit.
Thank you for the 5 gifted Mithril. I mean, if you want to send it to me, that is very funny.
Okay, I might do. Thank you, Waywood, with 500 bits. Much love to you.
Well, it's not about slogans. It's actually far more important than that, right? It's about making a difference to people. And as I said, we have had a tough time, but the plans we've put...
It's not about slogans. Stop the boats. It's not about slogans, though, but we stop the boats.
No, exactly. Making change for the better. Was it the... Making Britain... I forget what it was even called now.
Secure the change of the vote and the economy system, man.
Put in place are working, we're making progress, we're pointing in the right direction, and the choice now is to stick to the plan, right? And that's what I'm going to do, because the plan will deliver the long-term change that our country needs. It's starting to do that, and if we stick to it, then we can ensure that everyone, as said, had peace of mind that the future is going to be better for their children, and that we can have a renewed sense of pride in the UK. Look, that's my job for the year. That's what I'll be out and about talking to people about. And as I said, I feel upbeat because of the progress we've made and the fact that I know we're now pointing in the right direction.
Okay. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here live with us in the studio.
Wanker.
Absolute twat, yeah. I mean, just that was fucking awful.
Speaking of bellends and absolute twats, guess who we've got coming up next on the stream?
Sir Keith. Woo!
Sir Keith!
The Sir Keith of Starmershire, as I live and breathe.
Do you need the link?
No, I know I've got the link. Don't you worry about that. I've got the link.
Okay.
Yes, so there he is with his big stupid fucking face. So,
have you considered, Kev? Have you considered that he would simply grow the economy?
Just press the economy grow button. I'm surprised the Tories haven't done that. It's a good plan.
I know there's a button in number 10 that says grow the economy on it, and the Tories in their profligacy, their governmental profligacy, have completely reneged on their promise to press the button.
No, what happened was that in a drunken stupor, Boris Johnson shoved it up his arse, and they're still waiting for him to shit it out. But, his bowels are so irregular, it's been years. He'll pop out eventually, I'm sure. It'll be fine. Anyway, on that image, enjoy your dinner, if that's what you're happening right now. Anyway, talking about a load of old shit, Keir Starmer.
Good morning to you, Sir Keir. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to be your first guest of the year.
Well, it's going to be a big year. A big year all around the world, with lots of elections going off from Russia to the US and further.
Oh, yeah, I wonder how that one's going to work out. It could be anyone. It could be Vladimir Putin or maybe even Vladimir Putin who wins that one. That's what I reckon.
A real choice they've got.
Absolutely. Democracy manifest.
Afield. I am interested that with all the challenges that we face here, we are lucky still to be born here and to have a vote here.
Oh, we're very...
The fuck kind of question is that?
Okay, well, this guy's called Wilfred apparently, which is
Of course it is. Wilfred. I'm surprised it's not fucking Tarquin or something. Isn't it wonderful that we're born in Britain and we've got a vote? Yeah, we've got a vote between a pile of shit and a slurry pit of shit.
Yeah, he knows not got a vote. People of Palestine.
True, but they didn't condemn Hamas hard enough.
It's true. To be fair, that's Mohammed Abbas's fault. But then again, Mohammed Abbas is reasonable to say that we shouldn't. The elections are not particularly valid if the Palestinians of East Jerusalem are not able to vote. And Hamas and the PPP all agree with him on this one.
Very lucky, and this year we see that in action because it is going to be election year. It's 2024. We've been waiting and working for this for a long time. The first time since 2015 here, we've known it's going to be an election year, and the power goes to the voters. And so if people want change, and I think they do...
it's interesting that the way they talk about that, power goes to the voters. No, power resides with the voters. We are the sovereign here, okay? We give you temporarily power in office in order to enact our will, at least in theory. But the power remains with us, okay? Don't get it twisted that like, oh, we'll cede you this fucking silly bit of power this one time every 5 years. Fuck you. I honestly, the entitlement of these fucking people. Sick.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating because again, like the power of which the voters have is very minimal in the fact that it's every 5 years, but it does reside with us in at least every within those 5 years every single time. Whereas outside of those, we literally all you can do is watch. All you do is watch whilst the country crumbles with unelected people making promises that breaking promises that they didn't make by passing policies that they didn't get elected in their manifesto on, that nobody wants, but all the politicians agree that they do want. That is liberal democracy. It is voting for something and then not getting it and getting things that you didn't vote for, whilst not being able to have any control over the matter because the people who are offering the policies also don't even stand on the policies that they said that they believed in the first place.
Democracy. Fuck yeah.
I can make that case, but in the end, it's voters who will, on whatever day it is, be able to go and put that cross on the ballot and determine the future of their country. I mean, the power of the vote is incredible, and it's a reminder that this year voters have the power to vote for hope and change. I hope they do, but it is...
Yeah, me too. I hope by voting for the Green Party.
Yeah, or literally anyone else but you or Rishi.
Yeah, exactly. They have the power to vote for. They have the power to vote for change, and the change I would like to see is a change away from the two-party system. Thanks.
Yeah, even the Lib Dems would be less shit, and they're still shit, but they would be less shit. That's how bad you fuckers are.
Yeah, because at least the Lib Dems aren't transphobic.
Well, not as transphobic.
Not as transphobic, true.
Remember that power is with them, and you know, my message is: if you want change, vote for change.
True.
The working assumption is the second half of the year. When do you think the election will be?
Well, I want the election to be as soon as possible. We're ready for it. I think the country's ready for it. Most people say nothing's really working. Public services are on their knees. I don't feel any better off now than I did 14 years ago when this government started. So people want that election. And the sooner it happens, the better. And now, you know, we're ready for it. I have to say, you know, the Prime Minister is sort of almost taking himself out of this. Sort of the working assumption is as if it's somebody else's working assumption. If he had a plan, he would set the date, and he should set the date, because at the moment, it's very hard to see how him continuing government improves the lives of anybody in the country, so there's this drift. I can't help feeling that all he really wants to do is to get 2 years clocked up of his own premiership, and that means he's putting vanity before country. And so
To be honest with you, Truss has set such a low bar that you don't even need to run it out that much anymore. You can just be like, well, I beat Truss. I'm not the shortest lived Prime Minister ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a public service. Thank you, Liz.
Well, it's interesting as well, actually being pointed out in chat here, that the interviewer here is the son of David Frost. So yeah, the Irish journalism industry is indeed not nepotistic whatsoever.
Also, good to see that it's not always the case that with each generation they get better. Just saying. Generational decline is very much a thing.
This is our Frost Nixon.
Fucking end, mate. Just God. Although, I mean, to be fair, Nixon was pretty bad. But those interviews are amazing. Have you actually seen the original?
They're very good, yeah.
Incredible stuff. Whereas these two vapid twats, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, Jack Saint did a really good video on the Frost Nixon interview, well worth watching.
Him would be, if you've got a plan, set the date. If you haven't got a plan, just get on with it as quickly as possible.
You mentioned there your challenge to him. One thing we wanted to get out of the way at the start of this interview on Thursday.
Also, he's quite young to have been his son. How old was he when he had that fucking kid?
I don't know. Maybe this guy's just a
baby-faced 90-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. Wilfred Frost. He's born in 1985. He's 38.
What? Okay, so his dad must have been in his 60s?
56 he would have been.
Wow, okay. Yeah, well, there you go.
No, 46. I can't do maths. 46.
Oh, actually, that's not that old then, I guess. I mean, still pretty old, I guess, but yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Debates. You said happy to debate at any time. I wasn't sure if that was just a yes to the idea of open debate, or more specifically, a live TV debate. Will you commit now to a live TV debate on Sky News head-to-head against Rishi Sunak?
Look, I'm very happy to do live debates. We will inevitably do them in the election, I think almost every election.
Why not just say yes then? Why do you have to string it out like a dickhead? Just say, yeah, bring it the fuck on. I'll debate him on fucking Twitch. I don't care. I will debase myself and go on Twitch. Imagine that. Ugh. Honestly,
will you come on a Dylan Burns hippy dippy panel?
Oh God! The day the day that a Twitch, like a streamer, gets elected is the day that democracy is officially dead. It's over.
Recently has had them. As to committing to particular ones, that's to be negotiated. But look, in principle, the more exposure, the more the arguments are out there. We've got a very positive case to tell, and I want every opportunity to make that case.
Yeah, debate on Kick, then they can go really spicy.
I've been leader of the Labour Party now for 4 years. We've been going at pace to pick our party up from a terrible general election result. Most people thought we couldn't turn it around. We've turned it around. I will
say I didn't think they would turn it around in one term. But then again, I didn't expect... I mean, you can't predict that they would have fucking 4 different prime ministers. That's mad shit.
I thought that it was going to be a pretty long plan for them, but the amount of stuff that's happened, because you've had the war in Ukraine and a pandemic, but then we've also had Boris Johnson, we've had Partygate, we've had Liz Truss, we've had the mini budget, we've had whatever the fuck these last year and a bit of Sunak has been. Like the level to which the Conservative Party have torn themselves and the country apart. I mean, and to be, Boris Johnson is patient zero for this shit. Like, they got elected despite being a bumbling fool, and of course he was going to be a corrupt piece of shit and somebody who was going to. Of course, that he was going to do this. I feel really unprescient of my former self.
Yeah.
When I was looking at this guy, this is horrendous. How are we going to get rid of this guy? I was like, of course he's going to incriminate himself eventually. He spent his entire career, like the guy who conspired to have a journalist beaten up. Yeah, of course he was going to incriminate himself eventually.
Yeah. Presidential candidate Hassan Arbi spends half of the debate off screen. Solid memes. Solid memes.
We had to change the party, expose the government as not fit to govern, and then answer the question, why Labour? That's the part of the journey we're on. And I'm very happy to go and make that positive case for change.
Let's get into some of the details then, and start with the economy. You've committed to wanting to lower the overall tax burden. You've committed to doing so when the fiscal headroom allows it. When we're in that moment, when the headroom allows it, what's the first tax that you've got your eyes on that you want to cut?
Well, the burden on working people.
The 7 bins tax.
True, the meat tax. Coming for the meat tax like Sunak.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
Well,
Although, again, you could do that immediately by increasing a tax elsewhere, not on working people. But again, those have all been ruled out. Or he could indeed stop continually increasing the tax by unfreezing the tax thresholds and not giving us so much fiscal drag. But as we saw on LBC yesterday, you weren't there for this, Kev, but we were watching LBC on my channel yesterday, Keir Starmer, when asked if he would unfreeze tax thresholds, he just fucking lied. He just lied about, not wanting more tax rises when fiscal drag is literally a tax rise.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he's going after the meat tax anyway, because this election, the stakes are very high.
Is too high when it comes to tax, so that's where we would be looking to reduce that burden. And, frankly, the sooner we can do that, the better. But we do have to recognise that we now have the highest tax burden since the Second World War under this government. So we've got very, very high tax. And
which one do you want to cut first and foremost?
Well, taxes on working people. But just hear me out, because we need to assess why is it that we've got such high tax. Now, I think it's because we've got a low-growth economy, because we've had stagnation effectively in the economy for 14 years now. And therefore, we've got to do more than have a discussion about tax. We've got to have a discussion about how we grow the economy. And that's primarily why I've set out the idea.
Yeah.
We do need to have a conversation on how one grows the economy. Interesting enough, Sir Keith, we have asked this question many times of yous very specifically. Beth Rigby herself made it very clear that she wanted actual policy and not rhetoric, and you responded with more rhetoric. So I'll be interested to see how he finishes this and whether or not Wilfred Frost, son of the late David Frost, will actually press him on substantive policy proposals that would get that growth.
Also, his name is Willie Frost, which
Willie
is
Frost.
a terrible thing that people who go to the poles, if you go to the South Pole, Willie Frost is a real problem for you,
True.
That's a joke about penises, everybody. You're very well.
True. And also going to the polls as well.
Also that was an extra one. It works on several levels. I'm very deep.
Here of mission-driven government, purpose-driven government, and made the #1 mission for an incoming Labour government, if we are privileged enough to come in to serve, to grow the economy, sustainable growth in the economy, and to make sure that living standards across the whole of the country are going up. And so that's where we've put our energy, into those central missions, and setting out the first steps of those missions already. 1.5 million houses to be built under an incoming Labour government. 2 million appointments for the NHS to get the backlog
Those are
down.
goals, not specific policies. Is there one tax?
We got there eventually.
The apple doesn't fall that far from the tree, then, I guess.
True. Clearly it does not. But then again, because he literally said, well, we always show how we want to grow the economy. So we've got the plan is to have these houses. I'm like, you're not told us how you're going to build the houses.
With the magic house tree.
Magic house tree. We're
I
gonna,
bought some
We're going to unblock the planning system, presumably with Drano.
I bought some house beans from a giant, and you plant them in the tree, and it grows, and it's a house.
Over the course of 5 years, when the fiscal headroom is there, that will definitely be lower at the end of 5 years?
Well, I want to reduce the burden on working people. The only way to do that, in the long term, is to grow the economy. What you're seeing at the moment...
Literally, you could do it tomorrow.
He's floating...
Yeah.
You could do it tomorrow. Increase capital gains tax, reduce income tax. There you go. Tax on working people immediately dropped.
Yep.
Immediately dropped.
Yep.
Tax cuts. But he's doing that in his own self-interest. He's run out of ideas. They're desperately thrashing around. and trying to find dividing lines to go into the election. It's not part of a strategy for growing the economy. It's simply picking tax cuts that the Prime Minister thinks might create a dividing line going into the election. That is the wrong way to govern, whichever party you're in. It doesn't matter whether you're Conservative or whether you're Labour. To simply go down the road of desperately picking anything that creates a divide rather than having a strategy for the country is characteristic of what's gone wrong over the last 14 years.
Let's dive into an individual thing that you spoke about on Thursday, the £28 billion green investment plan. So on Thursday, you said that if the fiscal rules don't allow it, we'll borrow less. You were pushed on LBC on Friday, and you said it was now a confident ambition, watered down from previously an outright pledge. In that, are you saying that the economy, in the short term at least, is more important than the environment?
They're both.
Well, in the short, medium, and long term, he thinks that, yes. Like he doesn't give a fuck about green shit. Like he thought he might get some middle class people to vote for him, so he went with it. He had no plan. That's why I mean, with everything about him, I don't expect him to follow through on anything. Even if he comes out with a really good manifesto, I don't expect him to actually try and do any of the good shit.
Like what? You can't trust these people.
No.
It's important, but obviously the two have to go together. What I am saying is that we are determined to achieve our mission. We've got 5 missions, 5 central things that I want the incoming Labour government to achieve, and they will be our priorities. Growing the economy is the number one. The number one. Without that, we won't be able to do what we need to do on climate change, on public services. That has to be number one. But very important as a second mission is clean power by 2030, which will reduce our bills.
Which costs £28 billion.
Well, we'll reduce our bills, will give us energy security so that Putin can't put his boot on our throat, and give us the next generation of jobs. Now, that will require investment. So, in answer to your question, not just investment, by the way, because when we've looked with those we hope to partner with, how we achieve clean power by 2030, they say to me, Keir, you've got to look at the planning. We can't get infrastructure up quickly enough. You've got to look at planning. You've got to look at the national grid, because that's much, much too slow. We want a proper partnership with government. So there are things we can do that aren't investment. But yes, we need investment. And we will put in investment for the future. And that's where the 28 billion figure comes from. That's subject to the fiscal rules, because
because we must obey the gods of the fiscal rules that we made up.
Again, like the fiscal rules that it's necessary, that's pertinent here is only fiscally expanding for investment, which of course all of it is. All of that fits into that fiscal rule. That's a fiscal rule that John McDonnell had in 2017 and 2019. That was a very specific fiscal rule that John McDonnell said that they would only borrow to invest. But there's an extra bit tacked on at the end, the Rachel Reeves has added, which is, but that can only be subject to an idea of debt to GDP ratio falling by the end of the government, which of course massively constrains everything in a way that none of what John McDonnell promised would do. So it's you're on a hiding to nothing where you just go, well, we can't borrow now because we won't reduce debt to GDP, and then they just end this cycle of not investing. And also, what's ironic is him mentioning, we've got these problems with connectivity with the national grid. I'm like, it's great, yeah, it's true. We do have these connectivity problems with the national grid. One might say that those are a function of the privatisation, meaning that it's not functioning in an efficient manner, and rather in a profitable manner. But you could nationalise the energy grid like you said that you would during the leadership election. But of course, that would be pinko commie bullshit, despite the fact that Neil Kinnock promised to do the very same thing in 1992. Is he a Trotskyist now?
Look, that's electric Marxism.
Electricity communism.
True.
Stability is very, very important.
Forgive me to go on a moment on this, because you made it a pledge, and back in the middle of last year, when the government relaxed some of its net zero targets, you said the Prime Minister was being irresponsible with our future. And just last month at COP, you said the current government is shrinking from its obligation. Labour will act.
But again, just look at the fucking... Genuinely, that's such an under talked about aspect of the COP 26 or whatever the fuck number it's at now. Rally in Dubai, wasn't it? The UAE is the 6th largest oil producer on Earth, and yet you are holding a supposed fucking climate change, let's get rid of fossil fuels rally, not rally, fuck's sake, conference in that place like that. Do you not understand what a piss take that is? Like, are you also going to have like an anger management class in Jeffrey Dahmer's living room? What the fuck is going on here? You taking
having a committee to stop the exploitation of children on Epstein Island.
True, or indeed at the Nestle headquarters. Just saying.
Also, Frugilus, when he says that the grid is too slow, it's a connectivity problem where new properties and businesses are asking for be connected up to the national grid, and apparently it's taking the system is so slow that it's taking 5 years to get people connected up to the grid. And I'm like, yeah, this is slow, this is bad. And again, something you could very easily just fix immediately by nationalizing the grid and being able to mandate these things happening quicker.
No, but what about the free market? Will solve all of the problems.
Yeah, and there's natural monopoly, yeah. Absolutely. Also, thank you for the prime sub, Turin.
Yeah. You're saying there is a trade-off between the economy and the environment. So the question here, which I get there's a trade-off, is do you at least withdraw the accusation of irresponsibility to the government and acknowledge that if not, you're being irresponsible too?
No, I don't. Because the government is trying to pretend that the date on which an incoming Labour government signs a particular cheque is what matters. What matters is clean power by 2030, keeping to those targets. I'm not prepared to move that date. So people keep saying to me, are you...
And if it costs 28 billion, you'll still spend
are you moving back on your goal? No, we're not. Clean power by 2030. But look, let me...
Whoa. But... net zero by 2050 is also a goal that Rishi Sunak had, right?
Yes.
Which he said he wasn't giving up on. He said we still plan to get to net zero by 2050. Yeah, you made exactly the same criticism that we're making of you now, of Sunak, when he changed all of the ways in which he said he would try and achieve net zero by 2050, which of course, all of those changes he made, like opening up the Rosebank oil field, or when we are mandating only selling electric cars, all of these things that he then reneged on, which were part of the manifesto pledges in 2019, all those things have meant that even the fact that they were going to miss their net zero target got pushed even further down the road, right? So instead of 2060 be 2070 or something by the prediction people are making about our routes to net zero. So by you saying, well, I'm still committed to that date's not changing, but the policies might get watered down, how are you any different at all to the same Rishi Sunak that you criticised for going back on his climate pledges that he was elected on in 2019? It's identical in terms of rhetoric versus what they're actually saying in terms of policy.
No, but he's on the red team.
Red team good though. Red team good, blue team bad.
Yeah.
It's absolutely clear to me that the Tories are trying to sort of weaponise this issue, the 28 billion, etc. This is a fight I want.
Yeah, because you literally made a promise that you then went back on. So, yeah, like the Tories, I don't like them in a number of ways, but when they point out that you did a fucking stupid thing, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Good.
Want to have, if we can have a fight going into the election between an incoming Labour government that wants to invest in the future, long-term strategy that will lower our bills and give us energy independence, versus stagnation, more of the same under this government. If they want that fight on borrow to invest, I'm absolutely up for that fight, because I want to go to the British public and say we've had 14 years of sticking plaster politics where they haven't done any long-term thinking, and you're paying the price. I would do the hard yards of the long-term thinking. I'll borrow to invest, and your bills will go down. If they want that fight, bring it on.
Let's move on to foreign policy, Sakir. Defence
Well, that's a
Secretary
change of
Grant
rhetoric,
Shapps
at
said-
least.
Yeah.
I mean, that is at least a change of rhetoric of actually saying that borrowing to invest is good, and when on explicitly being prompted on if people are trying to attack you for borrowing to invest, and you say, yeah, come bring it. I'm happy to borrow. Borrowing to invest is literally good. It's a shame that that rhetoric was not something that people decided to just accept when Corbyn said it, when John McDonnell said it, because that's literally the point of John McDonnell's fiscal plan for how they were going to increase living standards in the UK, was this borrowing to invest strategy. And yet whenever they said it, the people would all then come back and say, well, this is fiscal profligacy. What about the money tree, magic money trees? You can't say that. That's bad. That's going to push up interest rates. Yeah, you'll notice now Keir's saying it, no pushback whatsoever.
Yeah.
No pushback at all. For something that's true. Literally, he's right to say it. But then so was Corbyn.
Yep. Anyway, this is the bit where he defends genocide.
Oh, good. Good, excellent. Big fan.
At the start of this week, that the UK was, quote, willing to take direct action in the Middle East. He was talking about repelling Houthi rebels in the Red Sea. Do you agree with that?
I agree with the government on this. I'm treading carefully because this is a sensitive issue. And we are...
What surprise he agrees with the Tories. Whoa.
Yeah, it's a sensitive issue, it means something that might cost me votes in swing constituencies.
Indeed, yes.
Talking to the government on this. I had a COBRA briefing from the government on Friday about it. That's indicative of the approach I take when Rishi Sunak...
Which is literally just copy the Tories on foreign policy. Yeah, we know.
I mean, yeah, being beaten to the punch on calling for a ceasefire by David Pigfucker Cameron.
Indeed. David Bomb Libya back to the Stone Age Cameron is too much of a fucking dove.
Prime Minister, he and I had a private phone call that evening, and I said to him, we will, robustly challenge each other uphill and down Dale on most things, but on national security, on terrorism, on Ukraine, because that was a dominant issue then, we will stand as one. Same applies here. So when the government, it's already made a statement, as you know.
Hashtag Hillary Ben moment.
In relation to what's happening in the Red Sea, we support that. We'll wait to see what next action needs to be taken. National security is the first concern of any government. It will be the first concern of an incoming Labour government, of course. And where action is needed, we're prepared to take it. What I don't want to do is to sit here getting ahead of the government in an area where I've said, because it's so important, we will, wherever we can, work together. So there's one voice coming out of the UK. In the Middle East, obviously, huge conflict at the moment. And it will not help the situation in the Red Sea to have political divides here that aren't necessary.
Let's explore a bit more the situation in Israel, Hamas, and how it's manifested back here in the UK. Do you think the protests that we've seen are just free speech in action that we should almost be proud of? Or has it bubbled over at times and revealed a sort of darker side of certain small groups of British society?
Bit of both. I'm proud that we have the right to protest and that on any issue, including issues where I may or may not agree with those protesting, people can take to the streets and protest. And that is good, and we should cherish that. That having been said, within some of these protests, there have been pretty obviously criminal offences committed that the police have had to follow up on, quite right too. And beyond the formal protests, there have been a number of threats and abuse to individuals, particularly some MPs, which I'm very...
Yeah, honestly, when I think about the Israel-Palestine situation, my deepest concern is for the members of the British House of Commons.
Yeah, mean tweets. Have you considered that? What's more important than Gaza's children? MPs being sent mean tweets.
Honestly, did you know that Hamas have built tunnels underneath those tweets? They need to be dealt with, okay?
True.
Concerned about the level of threats that are being made to a number of MPs, including some within my own party, but not just within my own party. So I fiercely defend the right to protest, including on this issue, of course. But I don't think we can escape the fact that there are these threats, not necessarily in the protests, but in and around, which we must be...
Well, that's the thing. They're going about the look. What exactly? Name all these rogue elements within the anti-Israel protests where these illegal actions have taken place. I've seen one iffy placard and like one person that said something a bit dodge. Whereas the Israel one, they're like, yeah, well, actually, we do want to kill all the Palestinians. Yeah. Just drive them into the Sinai. Fuck it.
There's always gonna be. There's always gonna be loads of people saying. There's gonna be the tiny minorities of people making claims like this thing and saying things that are out of pocket. But when millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people at least, per protest, millions over the course of the multiple protests combined turn up, and very, very tiny minorities, you can't use these as judgment points. But the fact that he seems to want to somehow claim that rogue elements of the protest movement are to be compared to the far right people, right, who the ones who are responsible for the deaths of our MPs, is deeply ridiculous for him to do that. This equivocation between pro-Palestine protesters and literal MP murderers. Again, I said they're both far right because one of them was Islamic extremist, and let's be real, right? Islamic extremism is a far right ideology, just a different kind of one that we're used to. And then, of course, one was a British nationalist.
Well, I've said before that if nationalists, European sort of nationalists, if they could get past their hatred of brown people, they'd fit in perfectly in ISIS. They get to hate on women. They get to hate Jewish people. They get to have like weird fucking Stone Age beliefs about gay people and throw them off roofs. They'd love it.
As Anatolian Plum points out in chat, he says that he fiercely defends the right to protest. Well, of course, he's not going to repeal the Priests and Crime Bill, is he?
No.
Let the legislation bed in, are his exact words.
Look, we need to make authoritarianism work. Okay.
True. We need to have responsible authoritarianism done in a red rosette with a very professional and managerial edge to it. Competent authoritarianism is what we're going to get.
We're only going to infringe on people's rights in a limited and specific way. So it's fine.
Very, very careful about. We've lost parliamentary.
Also, pause 1 sec as well, Kev. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a lord, a crossbench lord, but somebody who used to be a Labour MP. It's Lord Walney, who's John. His name is John Woodcock. He was suspended from Labour Party under the cloud of sexual assault allegations, or sexual harassment allegations, rather. Sorry. Who then quit the party for no longer being a broad church because they allowed right-wing bellends like this guy into the party pre-Corbyn. But he endorsed Boris Johnson for Prime Minister, and so therefore was given a lordship in the 2019 dissolution honours. Of course, because just like Ian Austin, essentially, you give hand shandies to Boris Johnson electorally, and they'll reward you with a seat in our legislature for life.
Yep.
Who's just come out in a tweet of a columnist for the Telegraph saying that because of the high costs of policing the pro-Palestine protests, the protesters should be charged money for protesting. So they should have to pay for their right to demonstrate.
I think
Labour MP, everybody.
I think you'll find that they already pay their taxes, and so they've literally already fucking paid for that. Shut up, you cunt.
This is the Labour right. This is exactly what the Labour right are like. They don't share, like, literally he says, oh, it's not a broad church in the Labour Party. Yeah, of course we don't want right wingers in the Labour Party. Like, we don't want people who think that the right to protest should be based upon the financial compensation you give to the police forces that come out. Not of their own volition, by the way. Not because they've been forced to by anybody. Of their own volition, they come out to police these things.
Yeah.
And now that's apparently this person who is apparently that him not being a Labour Party means it's not a broad church. Yeah. But of course, the Labour right love the Tories when they get appointed by them to the House of Lords, or indeed whether they join the party in terms of people like Lee Anderson, who just went from the Labour Party to the Conservative Party, or indeed Gloria De Piero, who ended up working for fucking GB News. And here they are campaigning for the Labour Party together. Big fan.
Someone found this incredible map of the tunnels, the Hamas tunnels underneath London. It's
I see the RMT are all down there, and we all know that they're fiercely apparent. Look, I'm not going to make that joke. It's very libelous.
Yeah, I imagine it would have been pretty libelous.
Oh yeah, joke, by the way.
So
just
this
want
is
to make that extra clear.
discussion.
Yeah, we are not suggesting any member of the RMT is actually a member of Hamas.
No.
I mean, I can't prove they're not, but I can't prove they are. So.
I mean, rightoids will probably say that they were. They're pro-Palestine, so that makes them part of Generation H, according to incredibly tedious Zionists.
Yeah.
It is a very serious issue.
You said in your speech on Thursday that you want to find, quote, a politics that treads a little lighter on all of our lives. Whether it's because of the Middle East issue or broadly, politics been a bit overwhelming for you and your family of late?
I think it's been overwhelming for many people across Britain. If you go down the road of nationalism or populism, you've always got something, you've got to find an enemy, you've got to hate, and you've got to constantly be in a fight and conflict.
No, that's not what populism is. That's not. You don't have to hate anyone. It's pointing out unfair systems of power. It's not about hatred. No, you can do hatred within inside a populist framework, absolutely. But the idea, again, he's doing like a horseshoe thing of the fascists and the communists are exactly the fucking same.
Populism bad.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, to be fair, he said if you're populist, you have to hate. I mean, I don't have to hate, but I do hate. I hate this fucker on the screen right now.
Well, I for one welcome our fucking gammon-faced overlords.
That's exhausting for many, many people. And that's why I said we should tread more lightly. Try and find the points of unity. Stop the division.
It's Joe Biden. We're watching Joe Biden.
Also, are you going to allow the trots back in then? In your big
unity,
politics?
Except within the Labour Party.
Yeah, fuck that noise. No. Sue Gray's son. You vote for him or you can fuck off.
I think that reflects the British public, by the way. I think by and large, people, they have opinions, but they're pretty tolerant. They'd rather work together.
Have you met British people? What are you talking about? The British people are tolerant. Okay. I mean, maybe in your circles. I don't know.
Them not work together. I also have one eye on the future. I'm absolutely determined to have a mission-driven government. I've argued for a decade of national renewal versus the...
That's true. Joe Biden doesn't tolerate the kind of fucking transphobia that you get in the Labour Party.
True.
He's literally worse than Joe Biden.
Decline we've seen for the last 14 years. Decade shows it will take time. Renewal, that it's not just to fix the country, but to take it forward, to make it a better place. The national bit in the middle is really important. What I'm indicating there is, for this to work, I know that people who aren't tribally Labour, who wouldn't normally necessarily vote Labour, but want to see their country improve, can be part of a wider project. So, yes, I think it reflects the politics of our country. I think we've had too much division, too much of this. Ramming everything down your throat the whole time, finding enemies all the time, divide, wedge. We're very much in this place with this government. Want to lift that to a better place, but to do it with...
He's going to be such an insufferable Prime Minister. Honestly, he's going to be fucking horrible to live with. Because he's a fucking gimp twat face now, and he doesn't have any power. He's not having any impact on my life whatsoever. Well, when he starts fucking shit up, and it's the same pablum over and over again. Oh, we have to put up with this cunt for ages because the Tories aren't going to win the following election.
No, they're really not. I mean, it depends how much Labour's terrible fiscal policy fucks up, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Purpose, which is to say there can be a national project here that you can be part of, even if you're not tribally Labour.
Clearly, we know about all of your front bench and the people that support you there. Lots of people behind the scenes within the Labour Party that support you too, that I've been speaking to at times this week. What about behind the scenes at home? If you were to make it to the top, to being Prime Minister, how much would you owe to your family for the support they give you?
Oh my God, what kind of question is this? When he said, I spoke to people behind the scenes at the Labour Party, I was like, oh, is he going to question about Morgan McSweeney and the dodgy 700k? Is he going to be doing that? No, he's going to ask him, well, how much do you owe your wife and kids?
The softest of softball questions I've ever heard. Like, what's he going to say other than, yeah, I owe everything to them. They're my world. I love them. They're amazing.
Yeah, like...
What's he going to say? I owe them fuck all. That lazy bitch has done nothing for me. Like, what's he going to say? The kids, honestly, the kids have been nothing but a fucking drag. All right, financially, they cost me a fortune. They get in the fucking way. They keep being sick on my fucking shirts. Honestly, we should have just aborted them. Fact.
Oh, everything. Absolutely everything. Vic, my wife, is fantastic. She is my complete support and partner in this. She doesn't do anything publicly. She wants to get on with her job. She works for the NHS. We've got two relatively young children. A boy is 15, a boy is 13. But it impacts them all of the time, every single day. And all of that I do, I talk through with Vic. All the big decisions are ones which we sit and talk through at home. And that is a good thing. I'm not sure she signed up for this. When I finished as Chief Prosecutor, Director of Public Prosecutions,
Bingo!
Was thinking about going into politics. She was sort of ringing out her job adverts, to go and carry on doing something in the law. So she didn't necessarily sign up to it, but she's absolutely centrally part of it. We've waited a long time for 2024. I'm really glad this year is here. I want this fight. The only thing that sort of keeps me up at night, the only thing that worries me is our children, because they're 13 and 15. That's difficult ages. It will impact them. We don't name them in public. We don't do photographs with them. They go to the local school, and I just desperately try to protect them in that way. But I know
that's fair enough. You know what? That's a basic human thing. Oh, that's fine. For once, he almost... You know what? He's almost like a real boy, isn't he? He's almost like an actual human.
I mean, that's why when we talked about earlier, when I said whereas Keir Starmer makes you bored, you don't like actively, unless you're really engaged with the things that he's saying on policy, you don't actively hate him like as an individual person, right? You just hate him for what he does and what he's become as part of the leader of the party. Yeah. Whereas whenever Sunak speaks, he could be saying anything, and he just comes off as like inherently like a fucking hateful individual. You can't you naturally fucking despise Rishi by watching him speak, no matter what he says.
True.
He just seems like a literal, he seems like an alien in a human suit. He really does.
A very small alien.
Very small.
Sorry about that.
Well, you're
like actually, he's in the Men in Black when it's the little alien and it's inside the guy's head. That's actually just Rishi Sunak just got a body wrapped around him. That size. That's how big he is. You can carry him in a bag.
Your wife particularly sounds like an amazing lady, and to all your family, we thank.
What the fuck kind of journalism are you doing? Your wife sounds like a lovely person. What the fuck?
I'm sure she is. I'm sure she is.
Well, yeah,
she is.
But you've got the guy who's going to be Prime Minister within the next 10 months, right? Ask him something properly. If you end the discussion with "your wife sounds lovely," you have failed as a journalist.
Yeah, true.
You've
true,
not done your
true.
job at all. Like, you don't have to be rude to the guy and go, well, fuck you, you piece of shit. But you also don't have to, like, gob-job him live on fucking TV.
True. Also, thank you for the £10 super chat. No to apartheid. Great conversation as usual. Keep it up. Well, thank you very much for the super chat and excellent name. No to apartheid, indeed.
Well, hot take. The hottest take of 1982.
Apartheid bad. I mean, yeah, apparently a hot take for South Africa to make, because it's been called ridiculous for levelling the charge of apartheid and the state of Israel.
True.
Sharing you with us on a weekend day, and I hope you have a fun rest of weekend lined up. Presumably a bit of watching Arsenal this afternoon.
I'm going to Arsenal this afternoon.
Bingo! Awkward pop culture reference. There we go.
Honestly, yeah. It's a shame we didn't play. Because someone would have got a line already, I'm sure.
I thought 20 minutes. Surely we can't hit bingo in 20 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
All of the key stuff has all been. Once we add decade of national renewal to the bingo card, definitely going on. Thank you, Solly. We've been done at 5 minutes. We've been over.
Yeah.
We desperately.
Think about Arsenal as you're trying to walk in.
I mean, I have.
That is also true.
To be impartial for most of the job, but I can agree with you on that. I very much hope Arsenal deliver victory this afternoon. To wrap things up, Sakir.
He's doing an awkward pop culture reference as well. Are you the same person? I mean, I'm not sure these two are two different people.
I mean, you've said very clearly, bring it on. You've also said...
I thought he was wrapping the fucking thing up. You don't do a bit of football banter and then carry on with a serious question, surely. I thought he was doing like the kind of, we've done the serious bit, now let's talk about Arsenal for a minute and then see you later. But
also, Arsenal lost 2-1 to Liverpool, 2-0 to Liverpool, sorry.
Well, indeed. But now he's going like, Arsenal, I hope Arsenal win. Anyway, talking about assisted suicide. What do you think about that, Sir Keith? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Actually, I have no idea what he's going to ask him, but like a serious topic.
In your speech earlier this week, the biggest challenge we face, bar none, is apathy.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say at the top of this interview, you wouldn't give me a tax that you're definitely going to cut. We've seen your party usher in the government's changes to immigration without a vote against it last month. Do you think that if there is apathy, and there is low turnout, that it's actually on you playing it a bit safe?
No, I don't think that. I think it's a reflection of
I mean,
the last 14 years.
Playing it safe is one way of putting it. Offering the public literally nothing is the way I would put it. Offering the public vague gestures at potential policy and no fundamental change, right? Literally the Joe Biden meme, nothing will fundamentally change.
Hello, who's this?
Being so monumentally similar to the outgoing government that people cannot tell you apart on huge swathes of both policy and ideology. Maybe that will be why people didn't really care about participating. When you look at 2017 and 2019, huge turnouts, and we've not seen in years, not pre-Blair, right? But, you know, you give people the same neoliberal slop to choose between and they'll just check out.
Yeah, like putting 10 men behind the ball is playing it safe. Keir Starmer hasn't even left the dressing room. He's refusing to even play. Fucking ridiculous. Like, again, yeah, it's people are apathetic because they don't feel like it makes any fucking difference. Mainly because you're literally telling them we can't afford to make any difference.
Exactly.
Years of government. And we've got very strong... I want to go make that argument. 1.5 million houses will be built under an incoming Labour government. If you are struggling to buy a house...
Yeah, I'll tell you whose fault it is. Jumbly Crumbles.
Jumbly Crumbly Concrete, the very same.
Apathy.
That's worth fighting for. I want to fight for 2 million extra NHS appointments for those who are on the waiting list. If you're on the waiting list, that is worth fighting for.
That's a goal. It is not a policy.
Yeah.
I feel apologies in advance for the next 6 to 10 months where you will hear both myself and No Justice say that sentence a lot.
We'll say it very frequently.
Yeah, it's going to become rather a repeating theme, unfortunately.
I want 700,000 appointments for dentistry, urgent appointments. If you're waiting for an appointment in NHS dentistry, that's worth fighting for. And I want...
People can't even get an NHS dentist, you dopey cunt. What, you don't even live in the real world, do you?
No, there's no dentistry. There are literally no dentists left.
Yeah.
And of course, that is a result of the dentist contract that was changed by fucking Blair.
Yeah, like it's... Oh, emergency dentist appointments. Dentists that won't see anybody. Or the people, I mean, the scam they pull, and this unfortunately is true, again, because of the Blair contract, is that all they need is to have one NHS patient on their books, and they get a certain amount every year for being a quote-unquote NHS dentist. Right, like a kind of sign-up bonus type deal. And so often what they'll do is they will sign up their wife and or children to be NHS patients at their surgery, get that money, and get paid to perform dentist care on their own family. A thing they weren't able to do in the past. Thanks, Tone.
I want to halve violence against women and girls, and that is worth fighting for. These are big differences between us and the government. They're all worth fighting for. And
there's no difference, and they don't want there to be. I mean, to be fair, the one difference is that the Tories literally don't want there to be more homes, but the Tories want to have there be lower waiting lists. The Tories want to grow the economy. They share all of these goals, right?
Yeah. Oh, there probably is NHS dentistry in Scotland. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not run by Westminster, so
change.
They are definitely. I'd argue that they're goals, not policies. But and then just a final.
Again, you can't chime in. Like if me and No Justice are having to say it, and you're saying it, it's going to sound like a fucking echo chamber. Just the three of us saying the same sentence over and over again.
A final question on this note, because if you win, you really will have the weight of a nation on your shoulders. I just wonder whether you're feeling the pressure behind the scenes. Do you feel the burden?
Fuck's sake! You don't have to keep jerking him off. Are you holding up okay?
It's been pathetic.
This is journalism.
We've watched 2 interviews, right? One on Sky News. We're usually pretty good on this stuff. That's the chair that Sophie Ridge used to sit in before she left for Trevor Phillips.
Yeah.
And then the other one we've had Laura Kuenssberg, and Kuenssberg has been like light years better at this stuff than.
Yeah, like honestly, compared to where she was, she is Pulitzer level compared to where she was a month ago. Whereas this dickhead's like, so tell us how awesome your wife and kids are, And are you holding up okay under the stress, the strain of it? Yeah, you're feeling okay. You're looking a bit tense. Let me just work out those knots and those shoulders for you, Keith.
Of that?
There's obviously been a burden on me in particular since I took over as leader of the Labour Party, a burden to turn our party around and get it to a credible position to win an election. And yes, I felt that because there's a responsibility to the Labour Party and to the country to put before the country a credible party that can act on behalf of working people. Actually, as we get to 2024, I'm in really good spirits because this is the chance, this is the year I know we'll get to be able to make our case. So I've turned into the year in really good spirits, really wanting to make the argument and knowing that in 2024 I get the chance to do so. Positive case for change. No longer having to say, we'll have to wait, etc. This is it.
Fucking
well, that was shit.
Christ. Honestly, I feel less...
I feel sorry for subjecting chat to that.
I feel less human every time I listen to that man speak. I feel like I feel more dissociated from my species. It's just soul destroying to listen to. But you know, we're going to have to put up with him as Prime Minister for a decade, I'm sure.
Yeah, so this is your précis. This is your starter for 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is the easy bit. Oh, for fuck's
It's the entree. This is your hors d'oeuvre, your starmer.
This is
before he becomes Prime Minister for a fucking decade.
This is the Keith foreplay. God Almighty.
Right. Anyway, where are you finishing up now? Because I am.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm going to raid out into somebody
Should we go into Zakap? I owe Zakap a raid, I think.
Yeah. Okay. We can do that. I don't look at it as people owing a raid or whatever. I mean, look, you're entitled to your own way you do your thing. But I always see it as just if someone raids in, that's cool, and I raid into other people. But
I mean, I try. What I try if people I try and raid people who raid me as much as I can because I know that sharing audiences is a way of building community and also building connections in the space. But of course, there's always other reasons to raid other people. But I feel like I never get the chance to raid Zakap because he's on Aussie time, so we're never streaming at the same time.
There are loads of really cool people I'd love to raid into, but they're like on the other side of the world and in the wrong time zone. So
yeah, exactly. YouTube viewers, I'll send you off into Lonerbox because Lonerbox raided me on Friday, or Thursday might be, I forget when it was. When we were together, actually, it would have been Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, I'll raid YouTube viewers off into Lonerbox, Twitch viewers into Zakap. Go follow KF Logan 1875 on Twitch or Kevin Logan 1875 on Twitter or at Ploppy111 on YouTube and give him money.
Go and follow No Justice MTG and / all the other things. I think you're just called that on all of the things, aren't you?
Every platform, yeah, every platform.
There you go. No need to remember. Just No Justice MTG, who is awesome.
Excellent. Well done. See, I'll be back live tomorrow. I'm not sure what you're doing.
Probably.
See you later, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.